you doing?
I'm doing so good.
So okay, because we kind of talked about some things before that we'll touch back on, but gun range today in the freezing fucking cold.
Yes, the training god saw us fit to train in such horrible, horrific weather, but it's good for you.
How often do you do the training? And
Well, I was there. This wasn't my course. This was Todd Nielsen's course. Nielsen Training and Consulting, and he's a friend in the business, and I wanted my son and my nieces and my good buddy Darren to take this course today, so I was there making sure they had everything they needed and assisting any way I could. So, but it was drudgery. It was work.
Was the frostbite worth it?
Oh yeah, well it's good to know what you're capable of, and under such conditions. We live in Utah, so we need to train in all the wonderful weather that we have here.
So what kind of guns do you take down there?
Today, well, this is my son's manyth course, but as far as running the basics, I had him start out on an M1 carbine when he was younger, and then let him run the M4, and then today he ran the AK-47, the Kalashnikov.
Fully auto?
No.
Come on.
Hell, no, man.
Not even dirty auto?
No, dude.
Come on.
No.
Binary trigger?
No, man.
Come on.
That's...
Have they outlawed those yet?
Well, you just have to have a permit for those things.
For the binary?
Oh, for the binary?
Yeah.
No, I don't like binary triggers at all.
I like them.
No.
I have one on my 300 Blackout.
No, man. I can see all the problems with that.
They're hard to control.
I don't want anything to do with that. Yeah. I want absolute control over that shot and whatever it lands on.
So what's your gun of choice you take on you for your concealed?
I carry a G23. That's my preferred. I like the 40 S&W round. I have less rounds, but it's a good round, and I got these skinny little wrists. I struggle with hand strength and carpal tunnel tendonitis, and so.
You're like a walking shit show.
Well, I mean, us smaller framed, lower body strength, skinny little wrists and arms. We struggle more with the short cycles,
right?
That's just how it is. And so if you don't have that locked in, then you're going to have more short cycles. Well, you're not guaranteed to have your perfect, comfortable position, fighting the stance you would want to have in the fight. You're not guaranteed on how that's going to go. I might have to shoot from front from my holster on my side.
Right.
So I carry a gun that I know is going to go bang. And
have you ever had to pull your gun on anyone?
No.
No,
but I've had a lot of, I'm very uncomfortable. I've had so many people walk up to me asking me for money, or they looked like trouble, or, they want me to give them a ride, so many times. And my first tape loop, which is, I'm sorry, sir, I cannot help you, with my body language, and I stay in motion, head on a swivel, that has kept me out of a fight for a very long time. They recognize my body motion, and even if I've done it without having anything on me, and I still do that body language, and their hands fly up, and they find something else to do.
Yeah.
The closest I've come was on Halloween night. My son was in the back seat, and my husband was driving, and my car is an oldie, an old Bronco, so you have to manually work the locks. Well, he's not used to that with the newer, nicer vehicles that do that. So he turned to me once he parked in front of the gas station, turned to me and asked me if there's anything I wanted, and a drugged out gangbanger opened the door and was trying to jump in our vehicle.
Oh, shit.
And so he was dealing with that, and I drew my gun, and I didn't point it at him, but I drew it, and I was waiting for my husband to deliver his, tape loop, and he didn't, so I delivered the tape loop from the passenger.
Right.
Oh, and that was after I turned to my son and I told him to hit the deck. So I gave him I gave him the tape loop. I'm sorry, sir, we cannot help you.
Right.
And even though he was drugged up and drooling, and he kind of looked up at me, And so I delivered the tape loop again. I'm sorry, sir. We
Right.
cannot help you.
Right.
And something clicked. And he wandered back into the ether. And that's a good result. That is a happy ending. And it's amazing how calm, cool, and collected you are in the moment. You've trained and trained and trained and trained, and you just do what you train. But I knew exactly what I was going to do if this was going to become more of a problem.
So I actually pulled my gun on someone.
Oh.
I was leaving work, going to a restaurant, sat down, started eating, got a call from one of my warehouse managers, and he's like, "Hey, one of our long distance operators called me. There's someone breaking into our trucks." And in our Denver office, it's been like a nightmare. Almost like once or twice a week, people are breaking into shit. So I was like, "Huh, okay." So I left, went back down to work, and caught the guy. Told him, "I got a gun. Don't fuck around." And he's like, "Okay." And he starts reaching for his bag. So I started backing up, drew it, and then luckily my warehouse manager called the cops at the same time. So South City, Salt Lake started come walking up, and they just immediately jumped on him, arrested him, got him out of there. And, I was cool with the cops. I drew my gun on him. They're like, "No, you're good. No worries."
Wow. That's a very good result.
But the funny thing is so like I had to call my boss to let him know. And he's like, "Next time, let the professionals do it." And I'm like, okay, I understand that, but I take a lot of pride where I work, and I'm not just going to allow this to happen. So anyway, I ended up talking to my dad, and then my dad's like, "Well, are you okay? Like, is everything fine?" I said, "Yeah." I go, "The real crazy thing is my heart did not elevate 1 second." He goes, "I think you're fucking insane."
Well, how were you after the event?
Totally calm, cool, collected, no issues.
Wow.
Did not raise heart rate, nothing.
That's not normal.
I know. I haven't been normal in a while.
Well, what is normal? Well, I would say your friend is looking out for you because, if I have an opportunity to disengage and separate and leave, I'm doing it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you want to go home at night.
Yeah. Well, I mean, nothing, once guns come out, nothing good is going to happen from this point forward.
Right.
And you're looking at a lot of hell.
Yeah.
It's
No, I agree.
there's nothing good about it. So, your friend was looking out for you. Now, I would have been out of there, disengage and separate.
Right. I'm not anywhere near as trained as you are. So, because I was joking with Lee, I was like, "Yeah, we're having the Sarah Connor of Utah
No.
on the podcast." Like, if the world ended tomorrow and this chick knew, we're going to her fucking house.
Well,
And Arnold better be there.
I don't know. I don't know any of I have a really good group of friends and fellow instructors I train with, and none of us feel like that we're trained enough or get enough range time.
I don't think you ever are.
Never. It's so perishable, and
because you let your guard down just for one little microsecond, and you could lose your life.
oh yeah. Well, but it's also this is a perishable skill set, set of psychomotor skills. You have to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and life gets busy, and we wear many hats,
Yep.
and it's hard to fit in that practice and that time, and but we go out and we train and we fail and
Do it all over again.
train, fail some more.
But I think like you've been training for so long that other people probably wouldn't look at it as a failure.
No, it depends on depends on your definition of the word failure.
Yeah.
But failure is the best teacher. You'll learn far more from failure than you ever will success.
What if you died during failure? Then you really can't learn anything.
Well, then you die.
Other people do though.
Who cares? You're not going to care anymore. But I like to be alive to worry about the
Right.
aftermath in the case. Is it going to cost an insane amount of money? And and I pray to God it's never in an election year. You know, you're going to go through
Right.
media hell, or all kinds of nightmares can spring up from something like that. And, you know, but I'll be alive to worry about it.
Right.
I'm just going to write checks to my lawyer
Be done.
and move forward and do my best. But, yeah, when you're dead,
Right.
you're dead.
So I'm a big Glock guy. I have a Glock 19 I carry in my 4Runner all the time. Lee over here is a big 6-hour guy.
Oh,
I do have a Glock today, though.
You do?
I have Glock 43X.
Okay.
very nice.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping you don't, like, appendix carry the P320 or anything. You're a brave man if you do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the whole lawsuit going on with the P320.
Is it like the hair trigger thing?
No, I think there's 40 very reputable a variety of trainers, law enforcement, where the gun discharged just sitting in the holster.
Oh, wow.
How does that even happen?
That's crazy.
Well, you know, trust the engineering. You know,
Right.
I looked at these.
226.
Well, I have a hard time trusting the engineering on some kind of internal safety mechanism. You know, when I'm used to seeing manuals and tabs
Right.
and grip safeties, I'm very uncomfortable with some internal engineering safety mechanism.
Well, it's like Boeing and their planes.
Yes. Time will tell. But 6 Hour has been curiously absent from the SHOT Show for the last 2 years.
Due to this kind of press, you think? Or
I don't know. I'm just the lawsuit's still ongoing, so.
so who is it, like class action?
I know there's 40 people that are in it, and I read through it, and you know it's curious that the military required a manual safety for their P320s,
But not for the consumer.
but not for the consumer. Or
Don't you think that shit would be the other way around?
I
I mean, that's pretty common sense shit, though.
I'm uncomfortable with SIGs. The jury's still out for me, so I stick to what I know works.
But how long
Thoroughly tested.
how long has this problem been persistent with the P?
I don't know. Probably I've known about it for about 2 years. 3? Probably about 2 years. But I think it's been a problem for a while, and
Right.
finally people are like, you know, you need to repent. So, but I read through the lawsuit. It was interesting. Normally lawsuits aren't that interesting to me, but this one was.
Well, this is right up your alley, though.
Yeah, it's like I want to know because the internal safety mechanism has made me uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable with those.
So is SIG the like the official gun for some police departments? Is that all they buy, or how does that work? Because I always thought it was Glock.
Well, it varies from department to department, but it was SIG that beat out Glock. They gave the better deal, I believe.
Isn't that for the military?
For the military, but they
Okay.
required the manual safety, and so that probably made other departments be like, all right. But I mean, it always depends on what department you work for. You know, who's in charge, who's running it, and because some departments will let you choose. You know, if you like your MP, you like your,
Right.
your CZ, they'll let you run that.
Right.
And that's good. That is such a good thing. Now, I would hope that they would at least have standards like, right, these are very reputable and reliable. This is a list that you can choose from. You know, I'm not comfortable with several of these new Turkish companies. I like the Canics. Okay, I like Canik, but I'm uncomfortable with the other Turkish companies that I see making, well, you know, Glocks basically.
Right.
But I don't like Keltex, and I don't like Taurus. Like that one, one of the Tauruses were recalled recently, also because they weren't drop safe. I'm trying to remember what it was, CSX or something.
I usually don't even look at those.
Right.
You know, like it's just not those. Like that kind of gun wouldn't even be on my radar.
Or Ruger. The most catastrophic, and I keep track of the most catastrophic failures and the ones that fail over and over and I keep track of those. Like those, I don't like those. Like Rugers.
What
Yeah.
what about the Ruger 5.7?
I don't like Ruger semi-autos. I'm sorry.
What's the whole deal behind Ruger? Is it the same?
They just have lots of malfunctions. They fail in class.
Okay.
They fail. If you're, that's why we have classes. That's why we have rigorous classes where we put, 200 to 300 rounds downrange, because we're hoping we tell our students, we hope that everything you brought here today breaks, so that we know.
Right.
It's better that it happens here
Right.
than in the fight of your life. And so, people do, they bring. I've seen a high point in class.
Yeah.
And it made it the whole class. We were all like, wow. But, I mean, I keep track. Like, when the XDs came out, those were some of the most catastrophic failures. I mean, we had to get out, the hammer and rod and just catastrophic. It's a bar of soap. But the XDMs are very nice.
That's just surprising because I do have a Ruger 5.7 that I keep on my nightstand. I have a Ruger precision rifle that I fucking love that
Those
gun.
are nice. No, the rifles are nice.
Right.
And, the revolvers are wonderful.
And then I used to have the revolvers too.
Yeah, they're nice.
And then I have a Ruger 5.56.
Yeah, I mean, they're fine. I haven't seen too many Ruger carbines in class. I know the ones that are known. I think the Bushmaster is one that gets the most grief for failure. Stag's in there too. But, I mean, and these companies repent, and they get better. I know Caracal repented for one of their things.
How do you feel about HK?
They're fine. They run.
See, that's funny because my buddy has literally the John Wick first movie HK. And that gun has had more issues than I've ever seen in my entire life. Misfire, no fire.
Yeah, that's not good.
I've never had issues with mine.
No, I think they're a nice gun, and this is just like one isolated person.
Right.
But like the only time I've ever had issues was with the Ruger 5.56, but I was using my own reloaded ammo.
Yeah.
And I mean, do you know a lot about reloading? I'd imagine you do.
Okay. Well, I am a female, Sean.
Okay.
And so I fall into the stereotype
Right.
that I'm very people oriented.
Okay.
Like, yes, I deal with a lot of things. I build things for a living, but it's just Legos. Like, I'm very people oriented.
I just assumed
I know-
you knew.
I do. I reload so I can have ammo, so I can go pew pew. Okay, I like all the pew
Right.
pew. I love doing all the training stuff. But as far as the thing, men are more thing oriented.
Sure.
Most of the time, I put my husband or my son in front of the, reloading, and they're just machines.
Right.
I grudgingly do it.
It's not. I mean,
You know,
it
it's
is the
like-
most mindless shit you ever do.
No, they love it.
No, I love it too because it's my little escape from reality.
They love it.
But no, the reason why I was asking is because
I get bored.
when you start to assume you don't know.
Right.
And so what I was doing was using 300 blackout powder in a 5.56,
Oh.
which the 300 is a slower burning, the 5.56 is faster.
See, you already know more about it than I
Right.
do. Daddy says, my dad is the savant of,
Okay.
because he's
Right.
like you.
So what had happened is I shot around, it got stuck in the God, I'm drawing a blank.
Oh, you had a squib?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are scary as hell.
And then next round up, boom, and then blew the whole right side of the gun apart.
Oh my God, yeah.
But that was my fault, not the gun's fault.
No, of course. Those are rare in
Right.
class, but then that's why all the trainers I know, including myself, we say no reloads.
Right.
No reloads.
Yeah, you time and a place for sure. But I was like you. I was looking at the price of ammo,
Oh yeah.
and this was back when like COVID first hit and fucking ammo went through the roof. I was like, I'm not paying this. I'd rather invest in a new hobby learn how to do this.
Oh, it's a great hobby.
And like I got really good at doing it. I haven't done it in forever, but I still have all the equipment, the whole nine. Like I could literally set it up and go and pull out my Hornady book and go through all that shit. You know, like I got it down. But that one mistake, that was probably one of the only times with a gun that scared the shit out of me. Because I'm left eye dominant.
Oh,
And
are you right-handed?
Yes.
Oh, you're one of those goofy ones.
Yeah. Yep. And so I don't have a left ejection port on that gun. So when that did that, that was right in front of my face.
Yeah.
And it scared the shit out of me.
Oh, yeah.
But the cool thing about Ruger is I sent the gun in. They totally replaced it, sent me a new one.
No way.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
That is really awesome.
Not
of
bad.
them.
So I don't have any issues with Ruger. So I was really shocked but I was shocked that you have come across a lot, but the models and types of guns you come across are a hell of a lot more broad than what I do.
Right, but I'm still limited, and
Right.
I try to, I want to see what's new and stuff.
Right.
And everything that comes out, I look at it questioningly, and
So I was going
then
to
I
ask.
see him run.
So I was going to ask you, how did you get into guns? But now I know your dad.
Oh,
So
yeah.
your dad pushed that pretty hard, I'm sure.
Not really.
No?
I mean, we just did it. I don't know. And I took to it. Not all of us girls were as excited about it. But, I mean, I was. I loved it. It was fun.
Did you get your husband into it, or was he already part of that world?
My husband is a redneck. And so where he came from, his father's, a hillbilly from Ohio, and like the stories I've heard about his Uncle Twig and Pops going out shooting and out there terrifying, shooting Ritz crackers out of their hands.
Running moonshine
I'm
around.
telling you, like crazy hillbilly stuff. And so, but he knew, he plinked and, regular go to the range and hang up a target and get your perfect stance and no stress. And we call that masturbation shooting. No stress.
Right. But you have to teach that, though.
Okay, but here, let me show you. If you're, I've heard somebody say where, like, it's premeditated. If you have the time to do shit like that, that's not imminent.
True.
Okay?
That is true.
You got to shoot under stress.
Right.
Like, no options. It's right here. It's happening right now. Like, that kind of stuff. So I did, he asked me to train him. I said, no, honey, we're not allowed to train our intimate partners. And but he insisted, and so I trained him, and he did wonderfully. He was a marvel. He did everything I told him to do, and then I put him in the class. But see, it's much more stressful in a class because you're in there with a bunch of people, and plus, my mentor for years, of course, was keeping a close eye on him because he was prospecting for the position of husband down the road.
Oh, not trainer?
Well, I was dating him, so
Right.
John was like watching him. But
He's like,
all the shit I told him not to do, he did in that class because it was more stressful. He was
Right.
under a lot of pressure. My dad's there, my mentor's there, everybody's there. Like, they're all watching him closely.
he's got to perform.
Yeah, he's got to perform. It's like, it's kind of, and I told him, like, make sure you push pull when you load that magazine,
Did you fuck with him a lot, though?
No.
No? Why?
Because I'm not.
You
'cause
should've
I want him to stay.
You should have said, if you think this is stressful, wait till tonight.
Yes. Oh, I joke with him in class. He's always assisting me in my courses, and I always joke with him that if you don't pass the test, we'll joke who's sleeping on the couch tonight.
Okay.
If we don't pass the test.
Do you actually
First try.
Do you actually live up to that, though?
Oh, hell no.
You got to make it fun. I went through my divorce. I fucked my shit up. So now when I do this with new women, oh, it's fun.
No. This is I'm divorced too.
Right.
So this is my.
Number 2.
This is 2. So I really like him. He's quite beautiful and lovely. And
Did I know number 1? Did we go to school with number 1?
No.
Okay.
No.
I wasn't sure because people I come across are like, oh, yeah, I married so-and-so. I'm like, who? And then they show me a picture. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, it's weird. I can't remember people's names. I'm very visual.
Yeah.
And like I could tell you stories from like my childhood, like they happened yesterday. But if you're like, do you know Brian Allen? I'm like, no. And he could have been part of the fucking story. I don't, for all I know. That's literally how my brain works. So I wasn't sure if number one was someone I knew.
No. But he gave me a wonderful son.
Good.
He is
Good. Is he
beautiful.
good? I mean, hopefully the relationship's good.
Sure, we're cordial and we're raising our son. We don't talk shit on each other. And
I have friends that are divorced and like they get in these like epic World War III battles.
No.
Like especially in the beginning. And they're like, they'll tell me the shit they say or the shit they do. And I'm like, why the fuck are you acting like a child, dude? It's over. Move on. Make sure the kid's taken care of. That's it.
Well, comparatively so to all the nightmares I've heard of as well, mine was rather boring. There was no awesome secret love affair. There was no
James Bond moment.
No, there was nothing like that. So, which maybe that would have been better. I don't know. Maybe that would have been easier to take other than like, I'm just leaving. I don't know. But no, and it actually turned out better for my son because he got a lot more time with his father.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's 50-50 custody, and I was pretty easy, like I was a stay-at-home mom and stuff for about 2 years, and so.
How does that work? Is that something you like? Did you like it? Did you?
I did love that time with my son. My son was my whole world. He changed everything. It was so weird. Such a transformation.
The day you came out, everything changed.
It just changed everything. I just couldn't. There was no way I could not be with him. But no, I mean, it was very kind of. It was wonderful that my ex-husband could provide that for me.
Right.
And for our son, and so he paid for everything. So it was just easy, in the divorce. Like, well, you paid for it, so I'm just gonna walk this way. And
is it really a full-time job though?
Well, it depends. Are you living in an apartment or do you have a house with a yard and animals? And I wish I would have had my house now, with my yard, and I just do yard work.
That's it.
Oh my God, I'd be in my garden all day with my vegetables and my flowers.
Just happy as can be.
As happy as can be. I would love it. I keep asking my husband when he'll let me. He's like, sorry.
He's like, I'm urban. We're not going there.
Then we don't get to buy all the fun toys. I'm like, oh, damn. Okay.
So, that's side by side?
Yeah.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Ramble it off.
The side by
the toys. Let's hear it.
It's all the gun stuff and
okay.
classes and it costs a lot of ammo and stuff to do all these courses, and it's an expensive.
It is an
lifestyle.
Expensive. It really is.
So.
But it's to me it's better than, at least on the reloading end, it's better than spending $900 for 1,000 rounds of 9mm. I'm like, the fuck is this?
Well, and it's knowledge, and
yeah.
it's not an easy knowledge to come by.
Right.
I know all the pain that my father went through, and his it's a religion to him, and it's not easy. It takes a lot of work.
Right.
But that's knowledge that people don't have.
So I had friends.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's a good hobby.
I thought you. Never mind.
What do you mean?
No, because you're like, I have friends. You're like, that's good, and I thought you were making fun of me.
No.
Which is funny. I'm all about that. No, when I was like really heavy in the reloading things, like I had friends, like especially the friends that were girls. They're like, you're insane.
Why?
And I was like, no, this is a fun hobby, because all they saw was, so I was living in an apartment complex, and I rented a storage unit. Like they just had like built-in storage units that I put all my shit in. I'd go down there for 4 or 5 hours and just start cranking them out because I love doing it. But they're like, that's really weird. Like you're turning yourself off from society. And I said, hold on a minute. Let me explain something to you. If this world were to ever end in the next few days, I would be the Albert fucking Einstein of the entire world. Do you understand, like, this skill people would die to have? Mm-hmm. And I go, meanwhile, you're cooped up in your home and you got all these, fuckheads that are running around trying to take your shit. And you have to give it to them because guns are scary.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, they don't think like women, stereotypically, of course.
No,
but,
even my guy friends were like that too. They're like, "You're fucking weird."
Well, that's not weird to me at all. My dad's first reloading station was like literally in the baby room, which is terrible. I can't believe my mother let him do that. No, but that's what he shared the room with the baby. It's like, oh god, that's horrible.
You grew up
like that's what's wrong with us. But no, that's a very productive. Well, I mean, I like to know how to make soap. From hog fat or whatever. I like to know how to make pemmican. I like to know how to do things. Knowledge of old before we had all this stuff.
Are you the female version of Brad Pitt in Fight Club? You ever seen that show or that movie?
I don't. Of course, I've seen Fight Club.
He makes the soap.
Right, but he's making
nitroglycerin.
Right. See, no, I mean like soap for washing.
I know.
Homesteading stuff.
I'm just fucking with you.
I love all the homes. I love the idea of homesteading.
Like churning butter and...
Well, and being independent.
Yeah.
Like knowing how to do that stuff. Knowing how to make vanilla. Because I want to be able to make cookies. So I want to make sure that I have vanilla extracts. Okay, so I need vodka. I need vanilla beans.
You've got it all ready.
Yeah, I like knowing how to make stuff. I make my own frankincense oil.
What the hell is frankincense?
It's a resin. It grows in it grows from the boswellia tree, in the Middle East or whatever. Like mine's from Egypt. My myrrh is from Somalia, but no, frankincense is what cured my ulcers. Nothing could touch the pain of what I was going through, and my mom just comes over and her essential oils, does the frankincense with the coconut oil and the aloe vera gel, and I'm over here like, that's such bullshit.
Your mom's like, your great grandma got burned at the stake for this shit.
Like, yeah, like hippie ass shit, and it worked. It freaking worked.
Really?
Yes, and
like so Dawn never came back again.
Yeah, and I smoke and I drink coffee and all the things they say don't do if you don't want to have ulcers. You ever seen what an ulcer looks like? It's hell. Ugh. But I
mean, I don't have a camera that I could.
They showed it. They'll show it in the show house.
Okay.
They'll show a horrible picture of this ulcer just oozing. It's horrible. It's like, oh god, that's what I had.
It's like a gunshot.
It's horrible. Yeah, but frankincense is expensive. So I figured out how to make my own and infuse it in oils, and so I can eat it. And so I take it internally, I use it externally, but there's so many medical uses for it. I mean, my friend has been using it, and he beat his cancer. They told him he had 5 months to live.
Wow.
And he's like 67, and he called me up. He called me up, and he said, I just went to my appointment after that 5-month death sentence, and they gave me 10 more years. And he was using frankincense oil and bee propolis.
Really?
And I never heard of it. I didn't know about the bee propolis, but that's like the inside lining of a beehive.
Really?
Yeah, I love naturals. I love reading about them, vitamins, plants, all that stuff. That's all fascinating to me. My husband's eyes will glaze over.
So you hold a cracker up.
Right, but it's like he'll start telling me what powder, whatever, I'll glaze over.
Yeah.
Your brain just...
It likes what it likes.
It likes what it likes.
Yeah.
So, look, in my circles, you're normal.
That's good. That's probably the first time in a long time.
No, it's relaxing. It totally connects with the male brain. Reloading is not easy.
It's not.
No.
It's
cool to know how to do shit.
Right.
So,
like some guys are like, look, I can change my own oil. I'm like, really, motherfucker, hold my beer. I'm gonna reload.
Yeah.
You're like, good job.
You know how many men I've dated that didn't know how to change a tire? And I was like, oh god, like that's gonna be in the questionnaire next time before I date somebody. Like, do you know how to change a tire?
But now you don't have to worry about it.
So sad. The U.S. Army couldn't change my tire for me.
Really?
Yeah, I just had my son, and I got a flat tire, and the Army happened to be driving by. They're like, well, let's change that for you. And I was like, well, okay, they aren't. Cool. And I looked over
They're
Just
like,
as they barely put the nut on, and then they were using turn. I was like, no, and they cross threaded it. Like, thanks, on a Sunday in Eagle Mountain.
oh God.
Oh God, you just ruined my life. Go away, Army. I hope you don't get a flat tire in Afghanistan.
Right.
Like,
You're like, hold on a second. I got to get my IUD.
I'm so embarrassed.
That's
I
sad.
don't know how to, you thread it on there.
You know,
Then you tighten it down.
So, what's funny is I work in the moving industry, and we are contracted to go on like Hill Air Force Base in Dugway. And again, this is not everyone in the military that lives on a military base. These are very isolated incidences over a 3-year period. But the one thing they teach you is you got to be tidy, clean, on time. You know, you ever gone to base and go into someone's house that has lived there?
No.
Oh my God, it is so bad, disgusting.
Why?
I've had situations where I've had to pull crews out because cockroaches are walking up the wall.
Oh.
Like they're like it may not be the man or the woman that's in the military that's dirty, but the fucking house is dirty. Yeah, like it's bad. So I love our military. I hate sending my guys to base.
It's probably because it's not theirs.
But right, but it's their home for the time being.
But it's not theirs.
Well, right, mindset. I get what you're saying. The mindset.
Well, I mean, like the difference between the reservations where they own it and the ones where they don't. It belongs to the reservation. There's a difference. Because there's that pride you have when it's yours.
Right. I get that. I can see that.
Could be. I don't know.
So with all your natural remedy stuff, like, please don't tell me you do ayahuasca.
No.
Or DMT.
No, that's what it is. It's very interesting. It's an interesting, how did they figure that out?
So I'm not a drug person at all.
No.
But I've heard about, what happens when you do that. And I would love to do that one day.
I've heard positive things about it from, I heard it from one veteran who was having horrible PTSD. Horrible. And a lot of pain, a lot of spiritual pain. And they did it in a controlled environment. They did an ayahuasca ceremony, and it totally helped him. He said it totally helped me.
I heard
helped me figure it all out.
Yeah, I heard it changes you as a person. It really can steer you into a whole different direction.
Well, I've heard Jordan Peterson remark, which I thought was really funny and accurate, but he said, he talked about the different experiments and studies and such that they've done with such things such as that. But he's like, you can take everything that we think we know about hallucinogens and all this and put it into a thimble and throw it away, and that's about how much we know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with that because I feel like, psilocybin, shrooms gets a really, really bad rap. People do go take them and freak the fuck out.
Sure.
I have done this before. I didn't freak the fuck out, but I did do it and had a bad trip. But the trip before that was actually really good and mind altering. It was I didn't do it to get I'm gonna get so fucked up on shrooms. I did it because I was out and I was camping. I finally got away from work. I was ready to just let the foot off the gas and relax, and it enhanced all of it. It was such a good experience. And then I rolled the dice and said, well, I'll do it next weekend too. Not on camping, not a deal. I ended up watching the last 2 Harry Potters. Not a good idea. Not a good idea.
Sorry.
No, I'm being
That
serious.
sounds horrible.
No, it's funny now. I'll laugh at it.
But it sounds horrible.
I woke up the next day laughing about it, but
just not when you were there.
No, just put it this way. There's times in those movies where funny shit happens.
Right.
So I caught myself laughing, and it always starts off ha ha ho ho ho, and I'm like, and then something bad happens, and then I end up in the corner of my room, what the fuck is this? And then there's when you do it, you get that moment of clarity where, and this one happened because are they fucking cleaners? I'm not even going to go into the spiel about the cleaners and the fucking church next door because I just watch an episode in the past 3 weeks and I go off on it. But anyway, you get moments of clarity where you're like, oh shit, like where the world aligns and you're just like, oh, and you feel like you like know this secret. I don't know what the secret is. You just feel you know the secret. So during this bad trip, I was like too scared to stand up and piss. So I sat down. And then I looked down at the bathroom rug and I was like, I know you. And then I in this split second, I'm like, I can cure cancer. I got the whole world figured out. I'm going to do these really important things. And then I went back to watching Harry Potter and then start all over. Freak the fuck out.
Oh my God.
Anyway, but my point to this is like, you know, like Joe Rogan talks about
Sure. Yeah.
shrooms all the time and the positive effects. And then you have like people who go out and do the ayahuasca deal. Like my own HR manager, who's like deathly Mormon, did it. And he's like,
How interesting.
he's like, I didn't like it because I was never in control. He's like, you get a better experience when you let go and you just let it do its thing. He's like, I couldn't do that. He's like, but I would recommend everyone to do it.
Well, and that's a very common struggle of just the Christian in life, period.
Well, life in general.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, and there's plenty of examples of, you know, maybe you weren't supposed to do something. Maybe that wasn't your place. Did God ask you to do something?
Right.
No.
No, I get where you're going with that.
No, there's examples of that, you know. I mean, they were so eager, you know, because they had to have 12 disciples. So they were so eager. They cast lots. And Matthias, you're the 12th disciple. But there is no book of Matthias. Notice there's no book of Matthias. But then Paul came along much later.
And then Enoch. They don't recognize Enoch's book.
No, Enoch was way before.
But you get what I'm saying, though. Like,
Right.
they start omitting different things.
But, I mean, Paul was replaced. It just wasn't your job to do it, right? We always think we have to do something. I'm one of those people. I have to do something.
They're like, you know what? We really like Paul.
Yeah, Paul was already decided it was going to be Paul, but they didn't know that.
They're like, let's do the baker's dozen.
They had to get it done. And it, like,
Right.
you know. But I as far as that stuff goes, I think you need to be very careful about opening up yourself to things that you don't understand.
Agreed.
You know, we know, you know, based on what we do know, you know, we live in, you know, 10 or more dimensions. And we have access to 4.
This is proven, though? We have 10?
Yeah, there 10 or more.
Really?
Yes, it's proven. And we're you know, there's the hyper dimensions. Okay, so we have a limited access. You know, time was the fourth, right? And they measure that with the clocks, right? The one clock in England at sea level, and then the clock in Colorado that's at the really high altitude because the distance. Like they're both clocks are slightly different than each other, but they're both accurate, and the difference is the elevation,
not the distance.
Right? No, not the distance. It's the elevation.
Gotcha.
But
see, I didn't know that shit.
Oh yeah, it's.
So do they have a classification for the 5th dimension?
It's.
And then how do you like scientifically prove that?
Well, you need someone to teach. Like you have to find a good teacher that is able to dumb it down for me to understand, and you know, so
like
you know,
a physics type thing.
Right? Yeah, it's
Okay.
physics and
Okay.
like quantum physics.
Right.
You know, so it's like. And I found a teacher that was able to dumb it down for me to understand because it's hard to
Well, it's
comprehend.
It's a lot.
Oh yeah, quantum physics is fascinating, but it's so hard to.
Like physics
grasp.
in general is just a lot.
Yeah.
Like you have to be
Yeah.
a special cookie to understand.
Right, and I'm not that special, so you know. So if you have someone that can explain something that's super complicated simply for me to understand, like that's cool. And I found that one, you know. My teacher was able to do that, and you know, like he would back it down and give the examples he gave were like, oh, okay, like that makes sense. Like,
Right.
how does a 2-dimensional being explain 3 dimensions? Or no, yeah, how does a 3-dimensional being explain 3 dimensions to a 2-dimensional being? You know, if I threw a ball at you, you'd just see, this dot.
Right.
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 And he showed this example of a painting. This artist was able to actually depict the 4 dimensions in this painting.
Really?
It was awesome. It was a picture of Jesus on the cross. He had all 4 dimensions in that painting. And then you have the Tesseract.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that the Hydra Collider, that thing they've been able to do.
The one in space?
The one in Geneva.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I thought you were talking about the big old satellite deal that they launched years ago that took forever. Hubble.
The Hubble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, they have all this technology now that they're able to run these experiments and actually discover these things, and it's crazy. But the movie, it's hard for me to fathom. But it's like we have locality, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not omnipresent, and so it's like if you take something and cut it in half enough times, you cut it in half, you cut it in half, you cut it in half. Eventually, it will lose the property of locality, and then it becomes everywhere at once. Which is like, what? But that was the movie Lucy. So
Okay.
when I saw the movie Lucy, I was like, oh, that's quantum physics. That's cool. And I'm able to understand that.
For me, I was just like a gooey black computer.
Yeah, I know.
Really?
Yeah, but she became omnipresent.
Right.
Like everywhere at once.
Right.
It's crazy, but it's cool. I like learning about it, but I'm limited,
Do you ever just like jump into something and it's too much and you're just like, okay, I'm done. I can't.
Like E8 theory. I was like, what?
See, now you're piquing my interest. What is E8?
No, that's what I'm saying. I can't.
But what is E8 theory?
It's another theory. It's another whole physics thing.
Like
but,
string theory?
No.
Okay.
But it's interesting that they just disproved.
String theory.
Yeah.
So I don't know how true this is.
The Big Bang.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you're getting into.
They just disproved the Big Bang.
So where do they think we come from? Or they still think we're the?
Well, couldn't possibly be creation by God.
Are you talking like Anunnaki type shit?
Oh well, the Anunnaki and the Rephaim are directly referred to in the Bible.
They are.
Yes, they are.
They are.
I mean, I'm a Christian, so I just believe what it says in there, what happened. So I'm like, that makes sense. That's
Because
not
they've
hard.
dumbed it down.
Well, yeah. I mean, I read it in there. I'm like, that makes sense. Like, yeah, makes sense to me. It's not hard for me to.
No, it's cool. Like like people believe what they're gonna believe, and I love that about society. Like I don't dog on anyone because of what they believe. He's got a coworker that's supposed to come on and who is like the Utah's best. Not really, but he really knows a lot about the Anunnaki.
Oh well.
That's a fascinating subject for me.
Well, it is. Me too. I like to know something, about anything. I love learning about stuff and hearing all the theories.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting.
It is.
And it's fringe. But see, most people believe in aliens coming from other planets and stuff like that.
Other dimensions, maybe.
Yes.
I know you're going with that.
Yeah. See, I think they're Nephilim. I don't think they came from other planets. I think they're Nephilim.
But do you classify the Nephilim as the fallen angels?
The children of the fallen angels that made children with men, as it's written.
Okay, so like the giants.
Yes.
Okay.
Nephilim, and since they weren't created of God, so when they die, they're disembodied spirits, and that's your.
So it's the spirits of the Nephilim.
Well, yeah, you got your variety, yeah, and they can defy the laws, because all the ships, these ships they see, they defy the laws of physics. They pop in and out.
They don't make any noise.
Yeah.
How fast they go would turn a human into goo.
They can pop in and out of the hyper dimensions.
Yeah.
And
that makes sense, but how does a spirit run a machine? Or is it a machine?
Is it a machine?
Well, because you have like the orb deal.
Yeah.
So I have a crazy story on orbs. The place I work at, they've been in business for the warehouse has been there for like 40 plus years. And no matter how much you slap lipstick on a pig, it's still a piece of shit. Anyway, It is known to be haunted, and I did not believe this.
Oh, good. I'll never go there.
So when I first started there, they would tell me stories, and then I got into a little bit of a party phase. So we would come back from the bar to the warehouse, not our own homes, and we would pass the fuck out, get up, go. Anyway, this place makes noise. It is confirmed it makes noises. It's not just the heater or the AC or whatever. Like, this fucking place groans. So, still didn't believe it until one day I'm sitting in my boss's office and I see this red light. And it goes right across him and then disappears. Like, I'm sitting this close watching this. Now, mind you, his office window sees into a hallway that you cannot see outside. So it's not like someone with a laser pointer. Like, it's physically impossible to, like, fuck with someone doing this. And I was like, did you see that? And he's like, yeah. And the hair on his arm stood straight up. He's like, we got to get the fuck out of here. That point forward, so that was probably 2 years after I started there, I finally understand that this place is haunted.
Well, it's when you personally experience things that shouldn't be there, and you have witnesses. I don't care what anyone says. Well, it could have been this, it could have been that, or I don't believe you, or are you sure? I don't give a shit what you think. You didn't see what I saw, and I had a witness, so I don't really care.
Right.
You know, I can't explain. You know, how did this thing come into fruition?
Have you ever
And
had
how did I
anything?
feel it?
Have
Yeah.
you?
Oh, yeah.
Let's hear it. Come on.
Well, I've had a shadow person come to fruition, and no, I was not asleep, and it smacked my bed 3 times, and I was not asleep. I was so petrified, and I prayed my ass off, and it just this shadow person, and I was like, oh hell no. And you know, my grandma was a Christian. She told me, like, okay, like, if anything happens, you just pray your ass off. But she said it much nicer than that.
Right.
But here's what you do. And so I was like, I threw my blankets over, praying my ass off, and yeah, it smacked my bed 3 times, which I didn't know what that meant. And when I thought it was gone, I like got on my phone and called my friend, like, come over now. But even so, what's interesting is, and this was when I was going through my divorce, which I think when
you're down emotionally, this shit happens.
yeah, there's many ways. So there's a whole list in the Bible that says I wouldn't do this shit if I was you, because
Yeah.
so there's many ways to open doors, but deep depression is one of them. You know, spiritual sickness, and there's many ways. But so my niece called me. I was separated. I was living in an apartment with my son, and my niece called me and said, my boyfriend has nowhere to go. Will you take him in? And so I said yes. And he was 17, and he's mostly Navajo, but part Paiute. And his grandmother was, in the Navajo tradition, it's a matriarchal society. So, and she was a medicine woman, and he came and stayed with me, and I was always hearing stuff and experiencing stuff. I'd run him every time I'd go run to my son's room. I was safe.
Maori, we're coming for
Dude, it was a mess.
I bet.
But so he came to stay with me and with us, and I told Conrad, like, well, you have a new brother now. And he was a good kid.
Did he do anything to to your apartment, like sage or anything?
No, he just needed somewhere to be.
So
Because his mom had issues. But no, what's interesting, he went and visited his grandma.
okay.
And his grandma he didn't say nothing to his grandma.
Was this after he moved in?
After he'd moved in with me. And he didn't say nothing. And she looked at him, are you living with a white lady? He was like, yes. She's like, there is something in her house, and it is following you now. It's like, how does she know? And he came home and told me that, like, my grandma told me this. And I was like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that at all.
So it's funny you say that, because I have 3 stepsisters, and the middle one, who's closest to our age, I didn't know she had this gift growing up, or I was just totally fucking oblivious to it. But she can see things that are not supposed to be saw. Like, think of like, what's that? Constantine. Now, I don't know if those figures are 100%, but like, I don't, at the time, I like her and I didn't like have like a relationship where we're just like, hey sis, how are you? This is what's going on in my life. Like, it was nothing like that. But I ended up going over to my mom's house for Christmas or Thanksgiving, and she kept looking at me. And I'm like, I got a booger on my face? Like, what's going on? She goes, nothing. I don't want to freak you out. And I go, no.
Oh, no, freak me out.
No, I'm like, let's hear it. She goes, are you going through something right now? And I said, no. And I wasn't. And I was like, why? She's like, you literally have a black spirit following you around. And I was like, how do I get rid of this? And she's like, well, I can come over and do sage. It's not always the end all be all, but I was like, okay. She goes, are you sure you're not going through something? And I'm like, no, I'm like, for sure. What I didn't know was depression runs in my family on my dad's side. And what some people, if I were to like tell you this, they're like, oh yeah, you're full on depressed. But there are times in my life, and it happens weekly, where like I'll get off work and I don't want to talk to anyone because my phone goes off nonstop for at least 10 hours out of the day. I'm always on the phone.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I want to shut it off. So then when I get home and I like change and eat, and then I literally will lay in bed and then pass out, do it all over again. Well, people are like, well, you need to go out, you need to meet new people, you're depressed. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I need my me time.
Me too.
But what was happening was there was too much me time.
Oh.
And I wasn't being, like, I basically ceased to exist other than regular working hours.
You do need a life outside of work.
Well, right. So, I mean, I've got past that, but I didn't realize it was something in my mind that stupid would cause that kind of consequence.
Right.
Now, nothing didn't happen to me. I don't know if the motherfucker's still here or not. Couldn't tell you. I mean, this was years and years and years ago. But, I eventually got out again and did all my stuff. But anyway, just funny you said that because black spirit, whole nine thing.
Well, it can also be generational. Like, you can have those kind of problems.
Yeah.
Generation to generation to generation. For whatever reasons. But, or there's something important you're supposed to do. Right? And, their goal is to make you quit and not do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I can feel it. Like,
check out.
It would pigeonhole you to some bad shit.
Well, and they isolate you from everyone.
Right.
And, I have friends that, they're into the anything but Jesus thing. They do witchcraft or what have you. They have some... I've seen witchcraft recipes be exchanged like casserole dishes.
Really?
On Facebook. I'm like,
are they like bleeding out children and doing the adrenochrome thing?
No, it's just no, nothing like that. It's white magic. This special rock has powers.
It sounds very racist.
Right. It's this crystal has powers and it's gonna do this, that, or the other. But
do you believe in that stuff?
I don't. I think you don't mess with. There's a whole list in the Bible that says,
right.
I wouldn't do that shit if I was you.
Why don't they just put it in that term though?
I do. Hey, my Bible studies are fun. I just say it, and
but like
I've gotten in real trouble for the stuff I've said because I just put it in the terms that
people understand.
And they look at me, they're like, "That story's not in the Bible." It's like, yeah, it is. It's like offensive.
Here's where I think
the Old Testament's rough.
Right. But here's why I think people get the religion thing wrong is when you start to take everything so damn literal.
Well, I think God says what he means and when he says. I'm very fundamental, but I also love the allegorical. I love both.
Right, but like the story of let's say Jonah in the well.
Oh, I love that story.
Right. But Jonah didn't live in a well. There's a whole theme behind this though, right?
He was in there for 3 days.
Right.
Okay, so how long was Jesus gone into hell after he died on the cross?
Was it a day?
3 days.
3 days? So now you're gonna start to freak me out.
Well, okay. Here's the thing. Well, I mean, that's what I love, that the layers and all the connections that are in there that I never knew were there. Okay, I didn't want anything to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
I was jaded. I was bitter. I was resentful. I grew up LDS, and I was like, this is bullshit. And if my grandma gives me one more Joseph Smith picture, I'm gonna throw up. But
What do they say about fall titles?
well,
I'm joking. Totally joking.
but see, and that's why I love my teacher. Like, my teacher goes through the whole, he goes through the whole church history. He's like, this is where they started. They said, pastors need to be celibate, and that was so they wouldn't have heirs, they wouldn't own anything. It would all belong to the church.
Right.
Right. So, like, why this happened and why this came into fruition. Why you can walk in and find so much pagan crap in all these different churches. Why this happened. And I love history.
Yeah.
I love history. So, see, learning all that history really helped me connect more to the message, and actually see how all this stuff coincides.
But it probably helped you connect more to nature as well.
It's a fascinating study. I wish I would have started a long time ago. I only started like 7 years ago, and I have long binges of just soaking it up. Like, good stuff, not the fluffy foo-foo stuff that drives me nuts. You can find
Bearing your testimony and crying.
Well, it's like, I mean, it was good. It was good when Christianity was legalized by Constantine, but it wasn't until the 2 guys later where they made it the official religion of the state, and that's when
Nicene or something like that.
That's when it really went downhill.
Well, yeah, because then you started the Roman Catholic, their own little crusade to purge everything out.
The pagan religious leaders just became the Christian religious leaders.
Right.
It's a change in nomenclature, and the holidays, the Christmas tree, the eggs,
Right.
we just mixed the two, and everybody's happy that, we get to keep drinking on our holidays, have our holidays. Okay, it's great. Everyone's happy. But look what happens when you actually, and that's why we have to have the separation of church and state, okay? Because look what happens when you make, an official religion of the state. It's murder. You have genocide.
Let's talk about that, because you told me that you were a Utah delegate.
I am.
You get to see behind the curtain that most people don't see.
Well, I'm a
to an
delegate.
extent.
To an extent.
But I mean, like, your opinion living in the state of Utah, like, do you feel that the LDS church is too entrenched in?
Yes.
Okay. Like, define something that you would feel that they've pushed really hard because they can push that angle.
I probably have it on my phone, but they were trying to pass some religious bill about saying, well, we can bypass your religious beliefs in the event of an emergency. We can just declare, like, you can't go to church, you can't practice your religious beliefs if we deem it necessary for the state. I have this bill saved on my phone.
So it's only deemed necessary if it falls under the vision of what they feel the necessary religion is.
Yeah, very unclearly defined.
Right.
But okay, so you have 85% of the legislatures are LDS.
Mm-hmm. Like,
how could this bill even possibly get written? Seriously?
right.
And trust you me, all my Mormon friends were just as pissed as me, my Mormon friends.
Well, why were they mad, though? Because they actually have it, in my eyes, better than anyone else in the state.
No, it's rough. No, they don't.
No, for that particular bill, though.
No?
No?
No.
Like, if they came out and they said,
no,
the Muslim religion,
no,
we don't deem that part of this, so now you can't practice that.
No, but that's not what they did, is it, in COVID?
No.
Okay, the churches got shut down.
Right.
And they obliged. They went along with the program.
They bowed down.
Yeah.
They didn't fight it.
They didn't fight it.
And then you had the people that did fight it and got arrested.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I had a lot of friends who were very unhappy. I have a lot of friends who are very unhappy to see the decay of their church. That's their church.
So okay, so
that's their religion. It hurts them.
Now your opinion makes sense to me. I thought it was the other way around, being that the LDS is the dominant religion in the state,
Sure.
and 85% of them are LDS, therefore what they say goes.
Well, how could they write a bill like that?
Right.
How?
Well, it makes sense if you're the dominant religion.
Like, if you claim to be a Christian, a Mormon Christian,
Right.
how could you let a bill like that even fly? Technically, I know I'm very familiar with what it is that you believe. How could you let?
From our end, you're absolutely right, because it doesn't make sense to persecute based off of an opinion. But when you're from a position of power, because he's like, let's call a spade. These politicians are never in it for the good of the citizens. It's just a money grab deal.
Well, I mean, not necessarily. Some of them just don't realize what this actually says or what this means. What this like?
So why jump on board?
They don't think it because they're asked to.
They're worried about
They're
losing.
asked to so that they can get their bill passed or whatever.
See, and
they're asked to be loyal to the party.
So there is nothing that you just said that is beneficial to the citizens of this state.
But I mean, as far as I'm saying, like, it's very heartbreaking for if I were LDS, I would be very heartbroken to see something like that. When I see people from my church doing stuff that absolutely is against the principles of the church I believe in.
Right.
Like Ezra Taft Benson would be rolling over in his grave.
I have no idea who that is.
That was the LDS prophet.
Okay.
I don't know, 2 or 3 prophets ago. And then Gordon B. Hinckley. So Gordon B. Hinckley is really the one who sacrificed the principles, because the older LDS church was they absolutely talked about the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. They were very heavy on that stuff.
And you're starting to see the blur.
But they sacrificed talking about that and those principles in order to get into the rest of the world, into communist countries where we don't need you preaching all that Constitution stuff, buddy, here in this country.
Right.
Right. So and I have a lot of good friends that are have been in that religion for a long time, including my family. And my dad left because he was super pissed.
I don't have any bad things to say about the LDS Church.
I do.
Well, I didn't. I also didn't grow up in it either.
Right.
So,
but I mean, it would. I'd have a lot of bad things to say about if I had the same experiences, whether it was Lutheran or Baptist or whatever. But these were my experiences in this church, and I don't have a church because I see all the issues.
Yeah. So for me personally, I believe in God. I don't need organized religion to tell me what I can and cannot believe.
I agree.
And when I broke away from, it actually took me a really bad 2014 to get realigned with what I would consider my own God.
Right. Agreed.
You know what I mean?
Agreed.
But when they start busting out the rules and regulations, to me, you're just like, okay, you either, from a regular person's standpoint, if you start to believe all the rules and regulations and you look at that of what a cult is, what the fuck is the difference?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, we'd have to, that would be a deep dive to dig in exactly to what you're talking about. But, I have a big issue with somebody telling me that they're going to, what is it they call it when we're going to separate you from God. Excommunicate you. Like, really?
But who are you to tell me that?
Exactly. And so I like the idea of home, like just being in small groups, growing in small groups and asking questions, doing studies together and discussing. That's the stuff I love. And that's where people thrive. And that's how it used to be done. And there's actually a ministry that does that. And, and it's like once the group gets to 12 people, they separate into 2 other groups, and then once they get to 12 people again, they separate, and it's just home stuff. And you're just like, well, what do we want to check out today?
Well, as they start to separate, do they still congregate with each other?
Yeah, well, I mean, no, they just stay in groups, and then they start their own group.
Right, but I mean,
small groups.
But they still talk to each other. And,
right.
How's your group going?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
But I mean, in a small group, you can have discussions, you can brainstorm, you can think and be like, well, I heard, what about this and how does it relate to that? Because it is that fascinating, the layers and the connections and it's fascinating. So it's fascinating stuff.
Here's what I have a problem with.
I like that stuff.
I think
There's
that
no tithing. You don't need a church.
well, so that's what I was going to bring up. So here's the biggest issue I have with all churches who have the 501c3 tax exemption. When you require, and we'll just use the LDS Church as an example.
Sure, not picking on just them.
No, but when you require or push really hard for a 10% donation from your congregation worldwide, and this money goes into multiple bank accounts, but very large bank accounts, and they start taking that money and injecting it into politics to push certain things, in my opinion, you are now a business and you should lose your tax exemption, no matter how many people you help worldwide.
Oh, good luck with that.
I know, but to me, like, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I have big issues with that. I mean,
But being a delegate, you see that, though. You see the bills that come across, like the one you just talked about.
well, and it's not only that, and I've seen not just them do it, it's how they go about it. You know, they'll take scripture out of context in these mega churches, evangelical, it doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah, like the
Yeah, and they take it so out of context. They make it sound like you're going to go to hell if you don't pay your tithing, which is absolute bullshit, because tithing is supposed to be paid from a joyful heart. You want to do it.
right.
You want to do it. You want to, I want to. And not you're going to go to hell if you don't pay your tithing.
Right, but the magic trick is
They take scripture out of context.
to get you to donate and then use your money for something that you doesn't even go to.
Well, they get you addicted to your guilt.
Right.
And I've had a student come up to me, and this is a student, she went to church every single Sunday of her life. And she was in an abusive marriage for 17 years. I will never forget this student. And she was dragged there kicking and screaming. She didn't want to be there. But she came up to me at the end of the class, and she told me, she said, "You are the very first person to ever tell me that I mattered."
Really?
And I thought, you got to be kidding me.
Really?
I want to tell her, like, you need to find another church. How is it that I'm the first person to tell you that? Shouldn't you be learning that in church?
Right.
Like how, like, you know, because I don't think people do understand that. They don't understand how important they are. And if you're at a place that's, you know, just wanting to make you feel guilty all the time, that's not the right place. That's
Right.
not, people don't know the proper way to repent. And they learn that in my class. And they can see it in real time.
Do you put a gun up to their head? I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Well, I tell them, I said, in this class, you're going to learn how to properly repent.
Is this your church class or your gun class?
This is my gun class.
Okay.
And I said, okay, so if you make a mistake, you know you made the mistake. You're sorry. Now let it go.
Right.
Whether it's your victories or your failures. Like, okay, that happened, or oh, that happened. Let it go. That shit's over now. But if you keep thinking about it, if you keep beating yourself up, like, oh man, I made that big mistake, your performance is going to go straight downhill.
Then you're scared.
And so it takes me or one of my other instructors to come up and say, "Are you still thinking about that stupid shit you did 10 minutes ago?" And they look at their feet and they say, "Yeah." It's like, okay, that's why you're failing. You have to let that go.
Right.
And it's hard for people to learn how to do that.
Well, I feel like
Let it go.
right, people in general, though, like just
Yes.
in today's society,
Yes.
I'm starting to realize this, get beat down so bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's terrible.
Yeah. It pisses me off.
Like, I'll talk with my employees and they're like, you know, yeah, like I want to buy a new car. Okay, what's stopping you?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know, they'll ramble off a bunch of personal stuff. It has nothing to do with the actual purchasing of the car. There's no confidence to jump into something to do this.
Well, I mean, look at our public school systems. They're manufacturing losers. Okay.
Well, yeah, I can tell you that.
Whining, sniveling, excuse making losers. They all they teach you is look for an excuse to lose.
Right. Here's your participation trophy.
Yeah. And they, you know, I learned that. I was that person. Okay. They gave me lots of people to blame, but not myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's much more productive for me to say, okay, how did I contribute to that stupid situation I was in so I can't do that again? Or, you know, But it's like my mentor says, is like you can either spend your time looking for a way to win, or look for an excuse to lose.
Right.
You can't. There's not time to do both. It's got to be one or the other.
So how do you, like, in your personal opinion, how do you push people away from that victim mentality?
I have a lecture that I give, but I try. That's exactly what I tell them. I said, why don't you choose instead of looking for an excuse to fail, instead, find a way to win.
Right.
Find a way to win. Let it go, and push forward. Always forward, as Joan of Arc would say. Always forward.
Right.
And don't look back. And you'll make mistakes, but even we're always looking for excuses to fail, and you'll hear all the excuses in the world. I mean, how many people who have told you, like, oh yeah, like, I love shooting, I'm a great shot, and then you're like, okay,
Every damn person I talk to.
okay, and you say, okay, let's go,
And then we go.
and then they're like, well, I can't this weekend, my wife won't let me, my pants are too tight, my mother didn't breastfeed me, all these.
Or
they have all kinds of excuses.
Or you take them and you quickly realize that they don't know what they're talking about.
Well, you don't know what you don't know.
Well, right.
And that goes for all of us.
Right.
But it's most people, I find it is so hard to get people to actually go because they're afraid. They're terrified to fail in front of other people.
Right.
That's the biggest thing. And like John says, what do the greatest lovers and the greatest shooters have in common? They'll never show you in public.
Okay.
You just have to take their word for it.
Right. So, see, that's so interesting. You say, not your little saying, that's funny. And
That's
it's
not
true.
mine.
No, but it's
I
true,
stole
though.
it.
But if you take people in general, like everyone likes to, not everyone, but when people hear the name like an Elon Musk and he's got all this money, he took chances. Sure. He did risks. He did a lot of different things. And you could say that about a lot of people with a lot of money, but you can look at everyday people who don't take those risks and blame all their issues on other people.
Yeah.
Like for me, I don't blame shit on anyone. If I fuck up, I fuck up. But I will overanalyze the shit out of why I didn't do it the way that it needed to be done. And then I'll fix it. And then if I continue to make the mistake, then I go back to the drawing board. It's like the scientific method. It all happens in the brain.
You go to the man cave and solve the problem. Then you can come out.
Right.
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 Yeah.
And just just to see like society go the way that it's gone is incredible.
Well, yeah, but because we want to be nice. It's much more important to be nice than to speak truth nowadays.
Right.
Disagree nicely. Or it's not polite to talk about politics. It's not polite to talk about religion. It's like, I want to talk about that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Why not?
Why not? That's crazy, but that is, they've pushed that into the culture.
Right.
It's rude. You might offend somebody.
So what?
Like,
it's your opinion.
I have so many of my just most wonderfulest friends that I've had for so many years are Democrats, and they still love me, and we can talk about politics and
Right.
stuff, and we totally disagree, but we still love each other.
Yeah.
There's a way to do it.
Well, I think the actual art of the debate is gone.
Well, that's because that's what they're pushing.
Well, but then you have the people who are followers, and that's the majority
Sure.
of this country. They're followers. And
Want
then
to fit in.
And then you get these lightning rod people, whether you love them or not, but like a Donald Trump, and they freak the fuck out. Because not only does he disagree with you, but he throws it in your face.
Well, but I'm very empathetic, and I'm very sympathetic to folks. They just want to fit in. They don't want any problems, and they're just trying to pay the rent, and do life. But I mean, I used to be, I can see myself in people, little thises and that's, but I used to be very bitter and resentful and nihilistic and all those things.
Yeah, and then you start to get hate in your heart for no
Absolutely.
reason.
I was consumed by rage.
That's what happened to me literally during COVID.
Yeah.
Was I
A lot of people.
because, you were at home. So you did a lot more stuff on your phone, or you're watching a lot of news, and they're just coming at you. And it wasn't until probably 2 years ago where I finally just turned it all off. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
You're like,
But then I started to really think of like, what's true to me?
mm-hmm.
And that's when I kind of started getting away from all of the politics stuff. So like for me, I don't care what you do in the four walls of your house. Don't hurt people.
Yeah, as long as you're not dragging other people in there,
Right.
hurting them. Yeah.
I don't care if you
Sure.
want to smoke a pound of weed every day. Don't hurt people.
Sure.
Whatever you do is your business. I'm not going to sit and judge you for it.
But don't hurt people.
Don't hurt people. You don't have the right to hurt other people.
Well, and not only that, if you're going to ask me my opinion on something, I'm going to give it.
Right.
So just understand that. And it's probably, you may not like it.
Do you ever catch yourself playing devil's advocate, though? Or are you just like strong on your conviction when an opinion is asked?
Well, see, I do care about people.
Okay.
And I do love people, even if I don't,
Right.
if I think that their lifestyle is unhealthy for them and it's going to make their life a lot harder, it doesn't make me love them any less. I just think their lifestyle is going to cause a lot of problems they wouldn't otherwise have.
Do you voice, though, the unwanted opinion?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. And it's not, I have lost friends over that.
I have the same problem.
Sure. But I mean, I try to tell it as loving as I can.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's been times in my life where, a really good friend, they told me something that I really needed to hear. And by God, was it painful.
Mm-hmm.
It was painful to hear because it was true. And, I did need to get my act together in this regard and, well, many regards. But a good friend will tell you when you're being a jerk, or will tell you like,
Or
you
when
know
you're-
what,
when
I
you're
don't think
fucking
this,
up.
yeah, I don't think this is healthy for you.
Right.
When you're like, your friends were telling you like, hey man, like you should come out with us.
Yeah.
And, and you're like, no, because you were in it.
Yeah.
So you didn't see it. So, and sometimes it takes more than one person, or sometimes it takes the right person to actually get through to you because you can't see the forest through the trees.
Right.
But it's like, we go through these life experiences, and when you can relate to someone, you can see someone walking through the same walk that you've been there before, you want to help. You want to help them come out of that because it's great on the other side.
Right. Well, no, so for me, for an example, I like to see, even if it's people I don't know or people I just met,
Yeah.
I want to see people succeed.
Yes.
Succeed can be a definition of a million different things.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can contribute to someone and get them to a better spot in life, then I feel I've done my job. So at work, I have a good friend of mine is like a brother to me.
Mm-hmm.
I put him in his first supervisor role. And he's very, very scared of confrontation. And I would tell him, you don't have to micromanage. You don't have to be up your people's asses.
Right. Oh, yeah, those are the worst managers.
But you need to learn how to phrase things to get things done and not necessarily sound like the micromanager, but to get the end result.
Yeah.
And every day is a new learning lesson with him, So we had a deal where he needed someone from a different department to come over and help train his guys, which is fine. And he asked for the help. And then the person didn't show up till the next day, but that person was also fixing another issue we're running about in his same department that he didn't know how to fix. And then later in the day went and trained his guys. And so when I sit down with him towards the end of the day to see how everything went, he's frustrated because it didn't happen yesterday. And I was like, hold on a second. You're asking a head of a department to stop what they're doing to go train your guys. I go, the fact that he's over here and the time that he was over here and the fact that he spent his last 2 days in your department, not his own, tells you where his level of caring is to make sure that this operation runs good. But because you you snapped your finger and it didn't happen the way that you wanted it to happen, you're frustrated about that. I was like, life doesn't work that way, bud.
And you're a very good friend for taking the time to talk to him about that and just help him. Be like, well, have you thought of it this way? Have you thought about it from their perspective? You know,
But
and sometimes we need that.
I found like ever since I let this hate go that I was developing during the COVID time, I find myself playing devil's advocate on two different reasons. One of them is to help people progress, for sure, and to get them to where they feel like they're succeeding, and then we can build off that succession to better, bigger and better things. The other part of me is still the little juvenile kid that likes to fuck with people just to get them all heated. And they don't know it's happening until it's over. And then, but that's fun. That's fun for me. Everything I do, like comedy wise or comment wise, is always about a reaction.
See, when I'm upsetting something, I don't know that I'm upsetting somebody. I don't know that I'm doing it. My husband has to come over and be like, honey, I think you're upsetting that person. I'm like, no, we're just having a nice conversation. He's like, honey, I think you're upsetting that person. Oh, why would they be upset?
Right. Right.
But, because that's not my intention. I'm not even thinking that way. No. So my husband helps me recognize when the things the mannerisms I'm not recognizing. But no, it's nice to hear somebody say that they're rooting for the success of others, because it's, you have to be very careful in this world who you share good news with and who you share bad news with. And it sucks that, we're not, necessarily rooting for everyone's success. But, the real challenge is, are you for someone that you maybe had a lot of bad, you have bad blood between you, like that bully in high school, do you wish for their success? Like, what kind of person are you? Are you, do you want to look them up and see, like, what happened to them? Like, did they get what they deserved,
Here's what here's what I can tell you.
That's who I want to be. I want to be that person, like, that can hope for their success, that they moved past and became better.
I can, and this is just me being 100% honest. I can look back on every single situation that I can actually remember and don't hold any hate in my heart because of what they did to me. I mean, growing up, not being able to play with the neighbor kids because we weren't LDS.
That was a thing.
That was a thing.
That was a thing.
And that hurt back then because you think it's something you did, and it's not.
Yeah, I know.
But then, all the way up to, like, the ex-wife, I don't have any bad feelings towards her. I hope she does well in life. It's just not going to be with me.
Right.
To any relationship I've had, no hard feelings whatsoever. Whether I feel that I got the bad end of it or I got the good end of it, whatever. I hope they do well in life. Career-wise, where I've had businesses tell me, you're not qualified to do this. We're going to go with a different candidate. I don't hold any bad feelings towards them because I'm a big believer of, like, it takes one opportunity to change someone's life.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to go Ben Shapiro on you because I do believe what he says. When you can take one and turn it into two, and then into three, you start to set yourself on a path of making good decisions. And it can be something as stupid as getting to work on time, putting in a day's effort, going home and doing something that you always wanted to do that you didn't do, and there's your three. And then you build off your three, and you just keep going and going and going. So when something bad does happen to you, it's literally like a little tiny chink in the armor, and you repair it, and you move on. The people that don't know that type of metaphor or don't live their life that way, something as stupid as an opinion can unravel an entire person. That's the sad part.
Well, and another thing that people may not necessarily do that right. They don't have it simplified enough, the things they want to do. They try to do too much.
Yes.
Or they get manic or whatever, and they try to take on too many things, and it's like, and then shut down, right? So it's like you're how you get there and how you do that. Like, it sounds simple. Like, it's all the time when I explain, like, the next thing we're going to do, like, it sounds simple.
It's not always.
And everybody, I see all the students nod their heads. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they fail.
Yeah, and then they screw it up, right? And that's what that is. And for a lot of people, I mean, they didn't even teach us basic stuff in school.
No.
And it's like,
You could redo the entire Utah curriculum, especially for high school.
yeah.
Sex education, all 3 years. Learn how to balance a fucking checkbook.
Yeah.
And then throw maybe a little bit of math in there.
Well, and how to achieve goals.
Right.
How to manage stress. How to manage, manage your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And take responsibility and accountability, because ultimately that's where you have the most power. I don't have control over what you do,
Right.
how you react, what you do to me. Nothing. I have no control over you, but I have control over me.
Right.
And instead of sitting here and fighting with you over, and we're never going to get anywhere. It's just going to go down. You can tell when the conversation needs to be over. There's nothing good is going to happen. So I can either sit here and engage in this terrible conversation that's just going to both.
I'm sorry, this is so bad.
No. I mean,
I know
when
what
you're.
you mean.
I mean, when you're, that saying,
Yeah.
do not cast pearls before swine.
Yes.
If they're not going to listen to you, stop talking.
Right.
But because I am, I'm a passionate, I'm combative.
Right.
My husband loves it.
You love the fight.
Well, I mean, but I really want to tell them something. Like, there's something very important that's important to me, and I want them to hear it. But then you have to come to that point where you're like, you just have to be like, and just turn and walk away. Like, they're not listening.
Right.
I'm wasting my breath. I want them to know so much, but they're not listening.
Right.
And so I'm just going to,
So
walk away.
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't
Yeah.
make it drink.
Yeah. So luckily I have my husband with me. Sometimes I do good, sometimes I don't. And my husband's like, honey, he's like whispering in my ear, honey, don't cast pearls before
But
swine.
but like, if you have a situation like that where you, in a sense, failed that other person,
Yeah.
do you guys, you and your husband, sit and talk about it, and he tries to kind of tell you where you went wrong?
Sure. Or they were just being an ass.
Right.
And it's like that wasn't your fault. I'm like, are you sure? But my husband's very good at telling me where I screw up,
Which is so
where I
weird.
suck.
Do you ever tell him the same thing?
Oh, of course.
Okay. I didn't know, like, because, being married, knowing, like, when you screwed up, you, like, from a man's standpoint, you never heard the end of it, ever. At least in mine.
No, I learned that there's a lot of proverbs on the nagging wife, on the nagging woman. I was like, that must be very important. That must be a very important one. Yeah, it's fine for me to bring something up to him, and we have this thing, and it's not just women that do it.
No, men are bad. Well,
Sure, they do it too.
the male gender is bad.
But it's like, if we've already had this fight about something, when we have a later fight a year down the road or 6 months down the road, you don't get to bring that up again.
But have you ever done
That
it?
was done.
Have you ever done that, though, to your ex or your current husband?
Sure. And of course, well, I don't even remember really with the ex, but with my husband, I remember when I did it to him, and he's like, like, that's a rule we have. And I was like, shit, you're right. Okay, can't bring that up again. So I didn't.
Good.
And the more you don't bring something old up,
Right.
the easier it gets.
Well, you just focus on the task at hand.
Right. Well, it gets easier. You just stop doing it.
Right.
But he's slipped a couple times and bring up some old shit, and I was like,
But is that the icebreaker, though, between the argument at that time? Like, do you guys
Sure.
like stop and laugh, and then whatever you were arguing about's done?
I don't recall laughing. I just remember being like, that's a rule. You can't do that.
Okay.
That's crap. And you know it. You're losing the argument, so you brought up old shit. That's how you know you're losing the argument. But no, I mean,
Dane Cook has this little thing during one of his stand-up comedy things where he talks about fighting with his ex-girlfriend and the girl's planting the nanobite bomb in your brain off something that is totally fucking irrelevant about
sure.
the argument, and then the guy will like go sit down to go do something else, and then the bomb goes off, and then it's like goes right back to arguing. Because you guys are ninjas. I'm telling you, you're little mind ninjas.
I don't know if I'm a ninja, but well, I don't know. He kind of gets mad at me because I'm really good with words sometimes, and like he's really good at math and stuff like that. But he'll get mad at me for some of the words I use. He's like, "What does that even mean? I don't even know that word." But I'll do it to be a dick, Like he's told me to stop that.
You throw the vocab at him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll learn some new cool word. I'm like, that's a cool word. But I don't know. We have two totally different brains. He's so much smarter on me on all this other stuff that I suck at. And
Does he
I'm
teach
really
you
good
though?
No, there's stuff that I'm just like, I don't care.
You're done.
I don't care. I could try to talk to him and be like, do you want to learn about the vitamins that I'm putting in your little tray?
He's like, no.
He's like, just put them in there, and I'll take them.
Crush him up, witch. Let's go.
He won't even. I've tried to teach him how. I'm like, okay, like this is what I put in your vitamin tray, and I'm like, you can do it. He won't. He's like, I don't know what goes where. Well, I could teach you. I don't want to. I don't want to learn.
You're like, honey, this little red pill you got to insert rectally.
Yeah.
Really? Do I have
Sure.
to?
No. No.
See, that would be like my joke in a relationship.
No, that's terrible. See, I don't think those jokes are funny. I'm like, ew. But it'd be funny if he would know I was totally full of shit. What I hate is the alwayses and the nevers. So like if you don't, you
never.
always and you never. I'm like, I hate that. Like I don't always do that. I did that a couple times.
But you established the pattern.
Yeah, it's like I hate that. Don't do that. I did it once or twice. You can't say it's not always now. Or I have done that. I just didn't do it this time. It's not I never. I hate those.
Next question for you, because I was actually really excited to get you on the podcast. When you were like, I'll come on.
Oh, I love talking.
I was like, okay, because you actually you brought this to my attention during the time when I thought it was funny to troll people online. And it was the Jordan Peterson deal.
Oh, love Jordan Peterson.
And at the time, I'm like, I have no idea who this motherfucker is. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't even jump online to research it at the time of who he was. And I don't know how I came across him, but then I came across him. I was like, oh, this dude's for real. Are you still involved in the Jordan Peterson stuff?
I love Jordan Peterson. If he tells me to read a book, I read it. I'm like, okay.
So you're a cult?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, but
He makes so much sense to me every time he talks.
And the books he's had me read, like.
Well, like
in the Brothers Karamazov, and I love that book, and that book is basically like Alyosha, the character. He's a very, very good Christian, very good, like a great example of a good Christian, and and that falls into like a poem I really love that was written by a rabbi. It's one of my favorite ones, and I give it every class because I love it so much. But I'd rather see a sermon than hear one. Mm-hmm. And he's the perfect example of that. And he's kind of how Dostoevsky wrote his character. He's more meek. He's more. He's not as well educated, say, as his brother, who's very. He's a very strong character. He's well educated, and he's the atheist. So he argues the atheist viewpoint as strong as he possibly can. And I loved, and he was giving him, and it's all these, and I've had these conversations with my atheist friends, and atheism is logical from that point of view. It's not irrational. And how could, they're asking, how could God allow this to happen? You tell me.
Read the Old Testament.
If God is real, how could God allow this? And it's like, yes, there is, and I've this conversation that Alyosha has him, it sounds similar, but he just got to the point where he just stood up and kissed his brother on the forehead and left. But in every time he handles a difficult situation, he's not preachy. He doesn't preach to anyone. He lives it. He is good. He is kind to everyone. even when they're mean to him, abusing him, or being, he's even the people, even his father, which was deserving of no love whatsoever. He was a jerk.
Does Peterson's father, or in the book?
No, in the book.
Okay.
Alyosha's father and his brother. I can't remember Ivan's father, but he was a jerk. No one, like, how could anyone love such a monster? But Alyosha did. He still loved his father. But one of my favorite parts of that book was Alyosha was talking to a mentor of his, a religious guy, and he told him, the worst lie you can tell is the lie you tell to yourself. And that I heard that, and I stopped and I rewound it, and I listened to it, and I stopped and I rewound it, and I listened to that whole conversation they were having again and again. And so I wondered, like, what lies do I tell myself? So I thought about that for a while, and that's not as easy to discover as you would think. Not for me.
That's like looking yourself in the mirror and really realizing you got some shit you got to fix.
Well,
if you're lying to yourself.
Well, yeah, I really want to know. It's hard.
Have you ever figured it out?
Well, I know I remember I got to the point with my feet. I have plantar fasciitis and ailments, and with my feet, and I keep re-injuring them, and I just kind of gave up. And I was like, my feet are just going to be like this forever. And I realized that was a lie that I was telling myself to get out of the responsibility of doing what it was I really needed to do, which is a lot of work. It's hard, but I'm lying to myself to get out of the responsibility for my ailments. So, I need to eat more. I need to go to the gym. I need to stretch. I need to do all these things to build my muscles back up, to prevent myself from easily re-injuring myself. Like, this all falls on me. And not only that, it was like how I got, my ailments in the first place. Like, I didn't eat well for a long time. I didn't eat enough. I didn't eat good food with good nutrition. I ate like shit. And, after years of running my ass off, I've always run my ass off, worked my ass off all my life. But I wasn't eating well. Well, gee, I wonder
what happened.
I wonder why I have struggled with carpal tunnel and tendonitis, and and I was like, oh, poor me, like, how, it's just me, and there's nothing I can do. So I did give up for a minute, and I realized, like, that's a lie. That's a lie I'm telling myself.
But it's a battle you're going to deal with every day. Right,
but I need to actually do what I need to do to fix my problems. And that's one of them.
Since then,
yeah,
much better.
I've been, and like Jordan Peterson says, you'll fail. He's like, but you have to establish your goals, and even if you just hit your goals by 51%, that's certainly better than 0.
Right, because at 0 you didn't try.
Sure, and I've been doing my best to get my meal prepping and eating good and eating right and doing my vitamins, doing all this stuff to build myself back up, and doing my stretching and weightlifting and all this stuff.
So how long have you been on this journey?
Well, luckily, an old friend of mine, or from way back in the day when I was in elementary school, that old neighborhood kid.
Who?
Dax Hubbard.
Sounds familiar.
Dude, well, he was like 2 grades older than us. That kid probably gave me more concussions playing Smear the Queer than, like, seriously, he was the toughest, baddest kid.
Well, because I remember you were always a tomboy type person.
Yeah, but, man, elementary school was...
He used to fuck you up.
Yeah, well, he would just grab you by the... He was Dax. He was... and I didn't want him to see that I was afraid of him. So I would pick up the ball. All the other kids would be like, screw that, Dax is playing. And I'd pick up the ball, and I'd look at him, and he'd smash my head in the ground, and I'd pick up the ball. He'd smash my head in the ground. I'd stumbling around.
Then you go into cerebral palsy phase.
Double vision, like, pick up the ball. And because we were talking on the phone, he's like, yeah, man, I remember you weren't afraid of shit. I was like, yeah, I was afraid of you. I just wasn't going to let you see it. But he's like, I don't know if you've seen him on Facebook. But
I don't think I have.
I always see his stuff. I was more friends with his younger brother, Derek.
Okay.
And they're both, like, ripped and muscly, and he's a bodybuilder.
What's their last name?
Hubbard.
Were they like straight edge kids at one
No.
point? Okay. Then I probably don't know these
No.
two.
Well, I mean, you remember Ricky Mountier?
Yes.
Yeah, Derek was like his best friend.
Okay.
And Dax was his older brother. But it turns, because he's a bodybuilder.
Okay.
He's been in competitions.
Right.
He's magnificent. And I kind of messaged him out of the blue. I was like, hey, do you know anybody that specializes in workout regimens for people with plantar fasciitis or, feet problems and stuff? He's like, well, I am a nutritionist and I help people design workout regimens for people with ailments. So I was like, oh, perfect. So
you've been to him and
so he gave me recommendations, and I've been slowly but surely doing it. My ribs were injured when I started, so I wasn't doing any upper body. I was just doing lower body. But have I failed? Have I missed?
sure.
Have I made mistakes along the way? Like, I had my class this last weekend, so I was just dead to the world, because it was freezing for 2 days and exhausted, so I didn't get my meal prep done. So I was like scrounging to make steaks during the week. So yeah, I failed. I stumbled.
But you recognize it and you do better.
I don't beat the hell out of myself and
Right.
quit and say I suck. Why did I even try?
So as you're telling me this story and then about the Jordan Peterson,
Yeah, that's
about
just-
the lie to yourself.
Yeah.
For me, back in 2015, when I pretty much had enough was enough.
You were not okay.
No,
You were not okay.
no. My 2014 was really horrible. And it started like 2 or 3 days before my birthday. So I got my divorce. My mom died a month later. My grandma died. And then
Holy cow.
yeah. And then right around like February-ish, actually it's more like March, like I finally told myself enough is enough. And for the longest time, I always believed that I was never good enough for someone because I had all this failure that I didn't contribute to, but just happened.
Right.
And I will tell you this, back then I was probably one of the biggest pussies you'd ever talk to. 100%, admit it.
No, I love talking to you.
No, I'm just saying like how I felt emotionally, And then I woke up one day and I just realized I don't really give a shit what people think anymore. I'm just going to live the life I want to live. I'm not going to be no apologies for it. I'm going to make mistakes. The goal is not to hurt people, but I'm going to live the life that I want to live. And it was like a huge struggle to get to that point and then to start doing it.
Yeah.
It changed everything. So like if I'm looking at like this now, and I actually have these conversations with people, like I'm not a big serial dater. Like I don't date to date. I don't date to go mess with women. I don't sleep around. I don't do any of that stuff because I have a bunch of different things going on with like work related, building this with Lee and Jaden. And then a bunch of other stuff too.
Well, and you don't want to hurt people.
I don't want to lead people on.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this right now, the confidence I'm at right now is so different from 2015. Like I'll flat out tell you, I am the Michael fucking Jordan of dating. You do not put me on the bench. Ever. You don't put the greatest on the bench. And if you do, I'm done.
I love hearing that.
That's where confidence-wise I'm at now. But I'm like that in every facet of my life.
Well, who are you dating?
Can't tell you that. Anyway,
Someone I know?
potentially.
Well, I think they're really awesome. If it's the person I know, and I think it's awesome.
Okay. But anyway, like, so I approach things in my own life with a very true, like, approach. It's not, I don't have any faults. I don't have any other motives, because I felt like I've already lived a life where I've done all the bad stuff.
Yeah.
There was a time in 2015 when I started to, if you would, recover from not feeling like I was, good for anyone. I would go out and date a lot. I would be that guy that would lie. I would be that guy that would sleep around.
Yeah.
And then it got old. And then I saw that it was really hurting people.
No, and yourself. It hurts you.
It does, and I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know Jordan Peterson just talked about this in a video he did, How to Destroy Your Negative Thoughts. Negative beliefs?
I
Did you watch that
haven't
one?
seen that.
That put together so many of the lectures, the lectures he's done in Harvard and such. That put together so many of these lectures in one great interview. I'll have to send it to you. But he has this segment where he talks about that, where he says if you date like that and, you live like that and you do that for 5 years, you'll become a psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
The definition of using someone for temporary, gain for your own self needs, not
Right.
giving a shit about them, you'll become a psychopath.
100%.
Yeah, and you should watch it. It's so good. But yeah, I mean, and I had my dating time, right?
Sure.
And I remember, when I was on the wrong path, and I realized, like, I am really on the wrong path, and I felt justified too. I felt justified.
Was it because you were so angry?
Yeah, I was bitter. I was like, I don't want to be in any kind of relationship. I don't want anything serious, and just this part. And I realized that was, I realized what I was doing was wrong. Luckily, I realized that pretty quick. And I realized the path that I was starting on, and it was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even though people say, like, yeah, that's cool, I don't want a relationship either, that doesn't mean it's true. Because when you're intimate with someone, like, of course you're going to develop feelings.
Right.
When you date someone, you're around them a lot, you're going to develop feelings.
Well, humans are designed to be around other humans.
Right, of course. But just to say, like, I'm just using you
Right.
for this, like, you cool with that? And, that's not okay. And I realized that's just terrible. And that was before I had God in my life, right? But I realized when I righted my path and I wanted to do the right thing, and I had to ask myself, what is it that I really want?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm lying to myself.
Right.
Again, the lying to yourself. What is it that I really want? Well, what I really wanted was a partner.
Right.
I wanted a life partner to build a dynasty with,
Yep.
a legacy.
That's why me and Lee are getting married.
No Diddy.
No Diddy.
Who's the big spoon?
Well, we haven't established that yet.
We're not spooning.
But, I mean, that's what I mean. And that's when I set out to find Preston. Like, I set out to find a man that had to be this.
So you had your list,
Yeah, I had a huge list, and everybody told me this man didn't exist.
and here he is.
And I found him. I was like, here he is. And I asked him, I don't know what he felt like, with me asking him all these questions, but I asked him a lot of questions. What's your relationship with your parents? What's your relationship with your family? Are you family oriented? What is your dating history? I want to know everything.
Do you have herpes?
Yeah. Do you shower every day? I wanted to know everything about him, his family, his dynamics between them, because if you're somebody that has a lot of lifetime long relationships, that's a good sign.
It is.
It is a good sign.
I have a very unique way of looking at something like that, whether you call it the universe or God or whatever. Through my own personal experience, I have what I call my orbit of people. And I know people aren't always going to stay forever or for long periods of time.
Sure.
And there's going to be people that come in for a short period of time and leave and I'll never see them again. Or there's going to be people that come in and go out and come in and go out. And then then I'll eventually have my mainstay type people. I had to learn to love the whole orbit.
Sure.
Like, I love people coming in and out. I love people staying for long periods of time and then potentially leaving. Right now, I don't have a hard stay in my orbit other than, like, with Lee and the stuff that we're doing, or, like, work-related stuff. But even work-related stuff, people come and people go. But I've just come to appreciate all of the connections I make with people.
Yes.
And then take it at face value. If it goes beyond that, great. I'm open to it. But if it doesn't, then I love that person. Thank you for coming.
Well, I have friends that they've burned all their bridges, right?
With you or?
Not with me.
Okay.
No, but they have a really hard time maintaining friendships.
But is that because they're like a self-destruct person?
Yes.
Okay.
And, I'm hanging in there, because I just love them to death.
Well, I think that's great.
But I know why they burn their bridges. They have so much anger, and it's not that they're not justified in their anger. I mean, I know their life stories, and it breaks my heart, and I hang in there. And they have been, toxic with me and, abusive, they'd start being abusive with me, and I'd be like, okay, well, I'm not gonna allow you to talk to me this way, so I'm gonna go now, but I love you.
But
and you don't get to talk to me that
for
way.
your own personal deal, though, at what point do you call enough is enough?
No.
You don't ever call.
Context is everything. And I have friends that I've known for decades, and I know their story, and I've been in that deep, dark place, and I'm going to love them. I love them so much, but I limit my time.
Okay.
And I don't, if it starts to get abusive, like, I'm out.
So on my end, and I love everything you just said. I'm totally opposite. So for me, it's like,
I choose that.
right. For me, it's like this. If someone comes into my life and they do me wrong by many different definitions, it could be just
That's
about
different.
anything. I will get to a point where I don't feel that this is now a beneficial relationship.
That's different.
Okay.
Doing you wrong is different. I mean people who can get toxic and abusive when they're talking about, what was one example?
Probably saying some shit they shouldn't be saying.
Well, just crazy shit that's really, ignorant. I'm just like, you know what? We're done.
Okay.
I know where this is going. It's kind of like when they said, the climate change. And I said, I think, the whole climate change they're describing here is bullshit. And he's like, what are you, a flat earther? And I'm like, okay, we're done here.
Okay.
How did you make that jump?
Okay.
That's where I mean,
Right.
That's what I mean. I don't mean anyone that's wronged me,
So I've never
different.
come across anyone in a professional psychological self-help deal with what I'm about to explain, but this is what makes sense to me. In my honest opinion, everything is what I would call a transactional relationship. So, for an example, getting you on the show, you threw a buck at me saying, "Hey, I want to come on your show. Let's talk."
Oh yeah.
So what do I do? I throw a buck at you and I'm like, "Hey, come on the show. Here's the date. Let's go." And you're like, "Okay, great." That's even transaction.
Sure.
But you will have people that come into your life that you want to be able to give that dollar to, but you're only getting 5 cents in return, or the 5-cent investment. And then you have to learn to not give so much to that person because you kind of know what you're going to get.
Sure.
In a sense, it's like a tit for tat type thing. Well, for me, what it does is it limits my attention and energy based off the person at that time. So, for an example, if I'm interested in a girl and the girl's not quite interested in me, at some point there could be like a communication breakdown where we no longer text,
Sure.
or even talk on the phone or see each other. So everything starts to kind of die off. I'll get to a point where I'm like, okay, I think I'm pretty much done here. And then anything they give me, I'll just give them the same in return. And it's not a negative thing. It's just, you want to give me a 3-worded text message, I'll give you a 3-worded text message. That way I'm not wasting
Right.
time and energy
Agreed.
on something that's not a good deal for me.
In that context is different because you have to have a very high standard. You got to be very clear on what it is that you want, and you want them to be very clear on what it is that you're
Right.
getting and what you're offering.
Right.
And you want to let them know all your sides that they may not like so much as possible, so that wasn't a waste of time, all that, relationship stuff. But that's different.
But no, I don't mean that just in like male on female relationship. I do that with personal relationships. I do it with family as well.
But see, I don't see.
I want your opinion because I think we're going to agree to disagree on this.
Sure, I like to give because I enjoy giving.
Okay.
And that's on me, and but I like, it's.
I'm the same way, but I have to limit what I can give.
Of course, and that's and me and my husband have had this conversation, you know, like, because we're both givers.
Okay.
You know, it's like, I think my husband has like three or four or five friends named Ashley, you know, and we'll get a call, you know, 3:00 in the morning, like, I'm stuck. Can you come help me? You know, the captain save a home mission, and Preston drowsily, I need to go save Ashley. And I'm like, which Ashley? Never mind. Bye, honey. But he'll go run off to help a friend in need.
That's your phone. Lee, grab her phone.
See, I told you. That phone's horrible.
Lee. Oh. Sorry, it's like vibrating big time. Anyway, so he goes and helps Ashley or one of the five.
Sure. But it's like, you know, and I like giving and I like helping and nurturing along, you know, like the kids in my life, my nieces, my son, my friends, you know, helping them. But, you know, not to the point, I don't give to the point where it starts hurting me. And that's where I have to draw the line. But, you know, I don't give expecting them to do this in return unless it's like an agreement we've made, like, okay, like, you know, I can't buy this, you know, like, you know, with my niece, like, I make her pay for her own. I try not to be too generous with my kids because otherwise it's out of control. So it's like, all right, you need to get this stuff, but you need to pay for it.
Give an inch, take a mile.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know, giving is good as long as you're not doing it to the point of enabling them. Right.
Right.
And like, I like to give, I like to help people out when they're in a pinch. You know, I've had people help me in a pinch.
Sure.
And it meant the world. Like, you know, I've had people help my family when they were in a pinch. You know, like, they didn't have to do that. They did, and I never forgot it. I never forgot the help that and, you know, I'll bet they don't even remember doing it, right? Because people have done very kind things for me that I will never forget.
Right.
And so I know the impact. It's powerful. And the good people in my life mentored me and inspired me, and I like to help people out, but not enable them.
Right.
I won't enable and help you continue your terrible choice in lifestyle that's actually hurting you and everyone you love.
Right.
Like, you know, like if you're an addict, no, you're not getting nothing from me.
Right.
You must hit rock bottom and get help.
How do you feel about addiction, though? Is like, obviously the choice to partake is their choice.
Yeah.
Do you think, though, that there's part of the mental sickness? You know what I mean? Like, I only ask you this because I have a brother that is severely struggling right now.
Yeah, me too.
And has severely struggled his entire life. And it seems like it doesn't matter what my dad does for him or what I do for him. It's never going to change. Like, it's just the same pattern over and over and over again.
Sure.
And the only way I know how to do this now moving forward with him is to not, like, to cut that person out.
Yeah.
And it's my own flesh and blood.
I know.
It's hard.
I know.
And I'm giving my dad advice as my brother's like tearing him down in text message after text message.
Yep.
And my dad's like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, stop talking to him. Anytime you talk to him, you are enabling him.
Yep.
Anytime he gets in trouble, you're always there. You're always paying for something.
Yep.
You're always putting money on his card or on his phone so he can communicate or he can have a better life in jail on something he fucking caused.
Well, they will do anything
Right.
to get to their next fix. The power it holds over them,
But here's the problem,
they're
though.
possessed.
We haven't heard from him in 2 months.
Sure.
That's the shitty part.
I know. So you're right. You're at that part right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've been dealing with this shit with him since we were teenagers.
Sure. I started telling my sister no a long time ago.
Does she even reach out to you anymore?
Honestly, I didn't hear from her for like years. Well, she was gone for a couple years, and then she popped up out of the blue at Thanksgiving dinner, and that was crazy. But then I didn't see her for another 6 years. But every once in a while, she'll message me, or it's my mom messaging me saying that she's messaging her saying all these terrible things.
Mm-hmm.
But she'll when I love talking to her and asking her how she's doing and blah blah blah. But the moment she starts going down the path of this is all mom and dad's fault, I'm like, no,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to have this conversation with you. I said your choices were yours,
Right.
as my choices were mine.
Right.
And anything terrible that happened to us in our adolescence, like, okay, mom and dad didn't make us sneak out of the house and go party.
Right.
We did that.
Right.
Yeah, well, they should have stopped us. Yeah, sure.
They didn't even know.
And
That's-
work
that's
full
what
time
sneaking
and
out
raise
is.
their other
Right.
two young children and like, really? And so I won't, like, I accept responsibility for all my poor choices.
Yeah.
And I will spend the rest of my life making up for it to my poor parents. God bless their hearts for being a difficult teenager.
The problem me and my dad are running into is
Yeah.
not necessarily the addiction portion. It's who he's associated with now.
No, well, their personality, they're not the same person you knew.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And so anytime you don't give them what they want, they're going to want to hurt you any way they can because you're hurting them.
Right.
And so the only hope that you possibly have is for them to hit rock bottom and get into a good program. They have to, that actually you have to want to be there.
Right.
Like the Crossroads program in Phoenix, Arizona. That was a marvelous program for a couple family members of mine. And I couldn't, like my cousin was into bad stuff, doing breaking big boy rules. And so he had a choice between prison and this program, and he completely 180'd. Completely. He's got all these degrees. He's like Mr. Badass.
He's changed. Oh, that's
Totally.
good.
Well, and him and his wife. And so they just said no to everything across the board. But this program was an excellent program. You really had to work your ass off to be there. You had to want to be there. You weren't forced to be there. But the programs that I see nowadays, you just say what they want you to say, you jump through the hoops, and you're done, and you go back to the life. But what also really helps is going to a program outside of your network, getting away from your network that uses. That's pretty much what you have to do.
So I dated a girl who had an alcohol problem.
Ugh.
And her mom would sit and beg me, please get her out of this. I'm like, you can't. I can't do it for her. And she ended up taking a trip down to Florida to go to rehab, and then got back, slipped up again, went back, and then came back. I haven't talked to her since she's been back, and completely sober, and actually does the classes for sobriety.
Oh, good.
So
Wonderful.
she's embraced that. So it's cool to see that deal.
Well, she probably found a really good person in that program that actually reached to her.
Yeah,
That actually
and
was
got
able to
it.
reach her.
Right.
Yeah.
My brother, on the other hand, the last time he got out of prison, he came and lived with me. And I basically told him, like, I'm going to teach you how to live. It's going to be really boring. It's not going to be this fast-paced, fast lane, money full of cash, selling Dylan, whatever it is, I don't live that life. This is going to be really boring, but I'm going to teach you how to do this.
And a lot less money.
A lot less money. So I got him a job where I was working at the time. I helped him in any way possible. He left the company, went and worked with a contractor that was doing stuff up in Kennecott. Was killing it, 100%.
Oh, for how long?
For probably about a year and a half. So
That's wonderful.
So then he gets in contact with one of his friends who's in North Dakota running tanker water when they pull the oil out of the ground, because they have to separate the water from the oil. He goes out there, gets a CDL. No.
Oh, no, yeah?
No,
Okay.
He kills it.
Okay.
Doing great.
I know there's a lot of drugs that run in those circles.
Well, so his girlfriend goes out there.
Okay.
They're living a good lifestyle, though. No, everything's still good.
Okay.
The guy that mentored him out there got him on a track to buy his own diesel tractor, his own water tanker deal, and start his own business. So he started doing it, started even killing it even more. I mean, he was making, anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 a week doing this.
Wow.
And everything was fine. And then something happened and he relapsed, and we've just watched him destroy everything along the way.
Yeah.
And at what point do you just like, you're done, you're dead to me? Or do you just keep...
You love them from afar.
Yeah.
And you have to, you have to let them hit rock bottom, and you can't help them. They have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They have to get the help. They have to choose it, right? Like in Exodus, it says, you cannot pick up manna for your brother,
Right.
or your sister, or anyone else. You have to do it.
But I would have talks with him on the phone and have him in tears.
Sure.
Where he was so thankful that I did what I did for him, and that I was so in his corner, telling him he could do this. You can do this. Like, you're gonna be great. You just have to push yourself. So I know where he's coming from. It's a lack of confidence.
But it's a choice.
It is.
It is a choice. And, and what sucks is that's cool, that's amazing that he came back for that period of time that he did, because that's rare.
Mm-hmm.
And, but what I've seen is people quit and they relapse. They quit and they relapse. They quit and they relapse. And eventually their brain is just so jacked now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no coming back.
The other caveat to this, why I asked you if it was mental or not, is he is bipolar depressive. And when he's not on his meds is when he goes into destruction mode.
Sure.
And then my mom, who died, also did have bipolar depression, and she dealt with the same shit. Mm. It skipped me. I have a form of depression, but I'm not bipolar. I don't have these ups and downs. I just have
That's wonderful.
Not really. I had to get over that shit with
I don't know, like straight line, not too high, not manic and not depressed.
But I also
great.
But I also have this like,
you're just even keel.
yeah, and
Nice.
that's my comfort zone.
That's nice.
But I also have to tell myself too, and this is what I tried to explain to my brother, is the highs are never as high as you think they are, and the lows are never as low as you think they are. It's finding the happy medium.
Right. And and so like I take a lot of supplements to keep my mental and physical health as good as possible, but to stay level. Cuz otherwise, see, my problem is I'll get like too happy and like excited, and I'll pick up a bunch of projects, and my husband comes home, he's like, you can't have your oils and your plants and all your projects at the same time on the kitchen table, on the counters. You're taking over everywhere. And I'll get too excited, and I'll pick up too many projects, and then of course we have our hormone cycle, and then if something goes wrong and
Right.
he says something mean to me, and then the wave and the well,
Right.
and then most of the time I'm really super happy. I have a great husband who puts up with me. I can be insufferable, but every once in a while, when we have that really bad fight, and we were actually talking about this because I had I have a lot of bad stuff in the past, and when things aren't going well, right, you'll dip down into that, and that's where he goes. You'll dip down
Emotionally.
Yeah, well, they believe that bipolar, manic episodes, like all that's like personality disorders.
Yeah.
They're oftentimes they are birthed from trauma, and that could be true for a lot of cases. Maybe not all, but I think it is. Because I remember when I changed. I remember what happened. I remember why I changed, and I was just filled with rage, and I was young. I was 15. And I completely changed. My parents were like, who is this psycho?
Right.
This crazy girl. And it's not like you can articulate that. So that could be, I don't know about your brother's life. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, you go back to that place. And sometimes it's like you've gone so many years without having a successful relationship. So much betrayal, so much injustice that you just lose all hope.
Right.
And anytime you start seeing things that, like you get in a fight, you see things go wrong, you start making plans for okay, oh, they're gonna leave me, so I'm gonna make plans. You start making your escape
See,
plans.
I do that in general, but like
Right.
I don't
But
do
that's
it.
not healthy.
Well, right, but I do this. Thanks, Jordan.
But that's but that comes from your past experience.
So, God, I hate to use this vocabulary because I don't think I'm what I'm about to describe to you. I call it scheming, but I'm not. I'm not scheming maliciously. What I'm doing is, and I'm actually doing this as you and I are having a conversation because as I ask you a question, I have 5 scenarios of what's going to happen based off your reaction. And then based off the 5 reactions, there are 5 other reactions and
Sure.
and this is how I could navigate a conversation.
Sure.
So I plan ahead as you and I are talking about. I do this with everything in my life.
That's good that you're doing it because I'm just going with the flow.
Well, right. but like as an interviewer, like I have to be that way.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't
of course.
I don't like, I've talked about this a million times on the podcast. I don't do research on the guests.
Oh.
Like I don't even know what I'm going to ask you until I actually step into the room before you guys arrive, and then it starts to come to me. And there's times I forget things, and that's why we have Lee set up to interact because there's questions I don't ask that he wants to know as well. But I don't do a whole lot of research, if any at all, on any of the guests that, if someone comes in like a Jordan Peterson, I'm going to go, I'm going to do some research on that person.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
we're
yeah.
going to have a whole other like enlightened conversation that I need to really be able to engage in.
I love him so much.
But like this kind of format though is just a conversation, but there's based off your answers, like I can start setting up the rest of how this thing's going to go.
Sure.
And that's what makes good content.
Sure.
So I call it scheming, call it whatever you want. I think I'm insane sometimes because if I do have something traumatic happen in my life, because I don't dream or I don't remember my dreams, but there are times when I do remember dreams, and I've had 500 million different conversations with this person based off of knowing that there's going to be some sort of conflict coming up, and I need to know how they're going to respond, and I replay that scenario as it's unfolding, and it's helped me, especially in my professional career, to be able to navigate hard situations or deliver messaging that gets people to move in one direction that's needed to get something done.
Well, sure, but you also got to be very careful not to make assumptions
Yes.
on what it is that you think you know.
Right.
Because we're very limited in
Agreed.
what we can know.
I can also read people's minds though too.
That's God.
I'm totally joking.
I don't think I'd want that gift. But
Energy wise, that's a whole other deal.
I leave it to my husband to help me really read people. He's really good at it. But he's good. But no, I try to be very careful making assumptions, and we're limited. We have we're limited to our personal experiences,
Right.
which are very real to us. But it's weird to meet other people who haven't had any of this similar experience, like nothing in their life. Like you haven't, nobody's ever tried to murder you, like nothing. Like that's weird. Right. And
You're not normal.
Well,
Not you, but that person. Like,
yeah.
you're not normal.
What do you mean? You've never had nothing.
Right.
Like, just like, no, I've never had anything. And, it's my friend that has 3 beautiful daughters. And I'm just like, oh God, girl, I'm going to pray for you and help you search for your daughters late at night when they become teenagers. If that happens.
God forbid.
God forbid. But I'm terrified for her having 3 beautiful daughters. But yeah, I mean, the human being is a truly remarkable and unique. Each person is so unique.
Well, yeah, we're very complex creatures as well.
It's beautiful. Yeah, and it's beautiful and it's dark.
But this is why, like, I love doing this, is because as you and I are talking, like, you and I haven't talked in 20 plus years.
That's not true. We talked.
Well, in person.
That's true.
I could do the digital thing all day and not feel one thing one way or another, I can sit and do the in-person thing and feel like we're picking up where we left off.
From Miss Pereiro's math class in 9th grade.
Yeah.
That's where I remember you.
So, but my point is, like,
Class.
for me, this is like therapy for me.
Oh, yeah. This is therapy.
Yeah.
Well, what does Jordan Peterson say? Like, talking helps you think.
Right.
Writing helps you think. And 2 brains are better than 1.
Right. Well, the funny thing is I grew up not ever being what you would call a creative person. I never ventured down that deal. If we had art class, I was drawing the stick figures. I never like got into the creative thing.
No?
It wasn't until like when this started, when the creativity started to come out. So I'm a late bloomer in the creative deal.
Well, that's cool.
And so it's been different because I could feel myself grow in areas where I didn't think even existed.
And this is a journey that should never end.
I don't ever want it to
Just
end.
Never. It just keeps going, as long as you can. But I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
People are fascinating. And, there's so much that from
Mm-hmm.
your own unique personal walk, your own life experience. You have experiences and knowledge that I need to know, that other people need to know, or that other people can relate with that, I don't have a clue. I don't know how to relate to that. Like being addicted to meth or heroin. Like I can't, I have friends or pills, I can't relate to that. I can imagine, I can try, but I can't relate.
Right.
And people, you connect a lot better to people with something that you've actually lived
Right.
and had an experience. You connect there.
But I also don't mind sharing my own personal life.
Sure, but we all have pieces of us that we just prefer to not remember and keep locked away.
I think I've had instances where I've done some things that I don't or
Sure.
that I'm not proud of, 100%.
Of course, we all do.
But I don't mind talking about them though.
Good for you.
I am not a secretive person at all. Like I just when I start talking, I go wherever the conversation goes. It's great.
It's good. I'm glad that's healthy. That's good that you can do that. There's just some things, that it's like, it's kind of like it's not healthy for me to think about this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to time travel. Like it's good for the time that I spent doing it to try and figure some things out.
Right.
Things I couldn't remember, and to make it productive. But I don't want to go back
And relive
and
it.
go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I am reliving it. And but I know for that women, it's very good to talk. And, there's things that I've been able to deal with. Like, there's things I couldn't even talk about. I couldn't think about it, couldn't talk about it. I refused. I just wanted to bury it.
That's what gets you in trouble, though.
Right.
And I know that from personal
Yeah.
experience.
And then, I'd drive past a certain place and boom, full-blown panic attack. It's like, so when I wasn't able to talk about, that thing until out of the blue, randomly, I meet some badass, lady, and she just told me, something that happened, and I was like, that's exactly what happened to me, and it's like, I was able to talk about it after that.
Right.
And I was able to process it, but I couldn't for 5 years. And so, but that's the experiences I'm talking about. And
Right.
Who knows why she even brought it up? I didn't say shit. Who knows? Who knows
So
why she wanted it? She just said, yeah, this happened. And, yeah.
I think it's because people, okay. So I'm a big believer of every individual person has an energy about them.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
You've seen it when you've had people that were very questionable try to do something, where you felt like you had to pull your gun out. That's a very low energy person. And then you meet these like really high energy people like a Jordan Peterson who like blow your fucking socks off with what they're telling you. And then you have kind of like the ups and downs of everyone. And then obviously their energies are going to change as well. Cause like Jordan got sick.
Oh, it was hell.
And it's like he gets sick, but then he gets canceled. And then like, it's kind of this chain reaction And now he's better, right?
I was so scared. I was so sad when he was gone. I was like, where did he go?
Well, I remember his daughter was like freaking out because
Yeah.
it got real bad.
I was terrified. I was so sad that he was gone. I missed him so much. Because I listened to everything I could find. Like, because he helped me so much.
Right.
I like the truth.
Well, you like inspirational type people, though.
Well, I like philosophy, and I like inspiration. I like stories. I like knowledge, and he helped me figure out a lot of stuff.
Well, what's sad, though, is like a bright mind like his
Yeah,
could be like the Aristotle of where we're at today. And because he has a difference of opinion from most people, they destroy him.
well, he teaches in a truly unique way that speaks to me.
Mm-hmm.
The history, I read the Gulag Archipelago because of him. It's like after I read that, I was like, every shower I took, I'm like, this is a gift from God. Every meal I ate
Tasted so much better.
Yeah, I was like, what did it take for all this food to get on my, like, how was balsamic vinegar made? Where'd they get this lettuce, this chicken, these craisins, these croutons, this cheese? I was thinking about everything, just staring at it like, this is so delicious. And everything was so much more beautiful. I had so much more gratitude, and I listened to a lot of horrific history stuff or true crime, stuff. It's crazy that our conviction rate would go down 85% of people just like not talk. Like the only reason the police solve any of these cases is because somebody talked.
Right.
It's like, God, no, it's not because they have all this high tech shit. No,
No, it's always
terrible.
someone has a mouth.
It's not as great as you think it is. Don't believe the CSI shows. But I don't know. The way that he teaches, my husband asked me, my husband asked me, he's like, how can you watch all this terrible shit? And it's like, if this person has the courage to come and talk about it, I'm going to listen.
Yeah.
It's like the Gulag Archipelago, like, what if that book disappeared? Then all that pain and suffering, all those experiences those people went through is gone. And it was all for nothing. Like, I need to know about it.
So you could tell your kids.
Well, and so we can prevent it from happening again. But we're watching it happen. We're watching the same crap that, we're watching that period of time before the people were taken to the Gulag.
Is that where that famous saying comes from? Where it's like, they talk about like the Nazi regime.
Right.
And they're like, they came for our books.
Right.
And we didn't say anything.
Right.
Then they came for our homes and we didn't say anything.
But I was not a homeowner, so I didn't say anything.
Right. But then they came for us and it was too late.
Right. And so like in that society, like we're the kulaks, basically. And what they did to the basically when the serfs were released and they'd get a little tiny farmhouse and they'd have a little cow and maybe they could hire one person to help do the work around their teeny little modest farm. That was a kulak. Like you were a jerk because you had so much.
Mm-hmm.
While this person over here has so little. And they took those kulaks and they were productive. They were excellent farmers. They marched all those people out to Siberia and starved them and froze them to death. Just because they worked hard.
That's what a communist still does to everything.
Right. It's the same as Mao.
Yeah.
Doesn't it blow your mind? Mao.
Mm-hmm.
He killed more people than any of them.
Yeah.
And we never heard a breath.
No.
We never heard a whisper of him in school.
Remember the Chinese Muslims that got put on the train and disappeared?
Right? Oh, they filmed the Mulan in right around that same area. They're passing by, like, oh, is that those Muslims that disappeared on that train?
The Uyghurs.
The Uyghur Muslims, yeah.
Yeah, but no one said a word.
Yeah, they filmed. Nobody said a word because they wanted to be friends with China, and China owns
Everything.
Yeah, they the NFL,
NBA.
NBA. Like I don't have anything to do with any of that crap. Like I don't care. It used to be great when I was a kid. I loved it when I was a kid. It's over. It's done. Compromise.
I would tell you this: I don't watch the NBA not because of for a political reason. It just doesn't truly interest me. I'll watch college basketball all day.
When you start pushing politics
Right.
like that,
But I'm just saying, like that doesn't interest me whether it's political or not. You know what I mean? Like
that's true.
That's just where I'm at. Like it's just not an interesting thing.
That's true.
But I'll sit there and I'll watch
But
millions of different YouTube videos. Like here's a good example.
when I was a kid, I loved it though.
Right. Well, everyone did, and everyone still, like as a kid, still does. But I get the political deal because my dad's the same way. He's like, I'm not watching the NFL. Motherfucker still watches the NFL. I catch him all the time.
Really?
Yeah, but I don't judge him for it though, because like if that's what he wants to watch, that's what he wants to watch. I don't care.
I want them to lose a bunch of money.
But here's the point though. Like, so the Super Bowl, whoever played, like, to me it didn't matter. You know what? You want to know what I watched? A goddamn documentary on a pyramid in Egypt. Not the main ones, and one that they just found.
The pyramid. Well, they just found one.
They find shit all the time.
Okay, sorry, don't want to.
No. But my point is like that was more interesting to me at 38 than if I was 21. I'd be glued to the Super Bowl and drunk as shit.
Well, you're in a different place.
Right.
You're hungry for knowledge. You're hungry for truth.
Yeah, in a sense, I feel like there are times in my life, and it's a lot more frequently now, where I feel enlightened. I want to learn more things.
And the more you learn, the more you want to learn. It's an insatiable hunger.
It is.
You just feel like you can never quench that thirst.
Right.
The pursuit of knowledge. And like JP said in an interview, he said, the truth is, that's the greatest, that's the Abrahamic called to adventure, to go outside your comfort zone into the wilderness and pursue truth. That's the greatest adventure you can ever embark on. And look how hungry you are. You're never quenched. You want to know more.
Yeah.
You want to know more. It's there's so many interesting things to know.
Right, and then I'll go home and, I'll talk to my dad, and he's just like, well, that fucking Joe Biden. And I go, my eyes gloss over. I'm I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
He's horrible.
I get it. We're good.
Well, I was pretty, it's pretty bad, the state of affairs. I mean, I do stay up to date on what's going on, and all the Joe Biden stuff, it's like, he still sucks. Yes, he's still senile. Yes, he's still stuttering. He's still falling.
Yes, he was an
old
asshole
news.
Before he lost his memory.
Sure. But for him to do what he did on this last Easter Sunday, that was pretty egregious.
Oh, the tranny thing?
That was pretty egregious.
I'll be real honest with you with the tranny deal.
Egregious.
I do not like the tranny deal being pushed on kids.
Sure.
I don't like the tranny deal where biological men who transition can go into women's bathrooms and expose themselves. I don't like that. I don't like what's happening in sports.
Right. No one does.
Right. These things can be fixed. And what I mean by fixed is you want to play basketball with transgenders, make your own league.
It's doing that on Easter Sunday. It's doing that on the day that's like the greatest day we celebrate.
And he's supposed to be a devout Catholic.
Right. Like that's the day Jesus overcame death.
Right.
Right.
So I get
you're
it.
going to come out and be like, screw that. Screw all these people.
Right.
And, screw them and their beliefs in this.
Right.
In our culture, we're gonna make this for the not even what percent of Americans. We're gonna cater to this over here.
That's the left.
How many days do you need? I don't care that you have a month or a day or whatever, but really, this is a sacred day for a lot of people. It's a slap in the face.
It's so blatant now, but that's been the MO.
It was intentional.
But that's been the MO of the Democratic Party forever.
That's egregious.
No, I agree. And but on a personal level, if someone wants to transition to whatever, I mean, they can turn into a fucking turtle for all I care.
Sure.
As long as you're happy and you're not hurting other people, great. But don't jump on your soapbox and tell me what I need to call you.
Right.
Because if you were Samantha before, you're still Samantha after.
Well, I don't even mind that. You know, it's like I don't have a problem. Like, honestly, like I don't have an issue if they look like a chick. Like, I don't have a problem saying her or whatever. Like, I don't have any issues with that.
No, but like,
But it's when you start trying to force me
right.
to agree with you on this, that, or the other,
Yeah, like she, her, him.
and then act like, I'm not going to do that. But see, you know, I only know one trans, and she's great. Like, we get along great. Both like guns. Like,
but like,
there's no issues.
right, but if someone's like, I'm binary, I'm like, cool, are you a 0 or are you a 1? Because that's what binary is. When you get into coding and computers, it's 0s and 1s.
I have no idea. What's the other, like, I'm polyamorous, or
I don't even.
swinging's called the lifestyle now, I learned.
Okay.
There's all these terms I can't keep up.
I don't follow it.
Like, I know, but it's like,
You know what I mean?
well, what is that? You know, I don't know. Why does it have to be thrown in my face constantly? Why does it have to be thrown in?
But why do you have to adapt your way of thinking for theirs?
Well, and I was talking, I don't like it being pushed on youth who, you know, like, seriously, if they would have pushed me on this when I was a kid, I totally thought I was a boy. Totally.
Or you would end up lesbian.
Right. So if they would have come to me and be like, you know, if you feel like a boy on the inside, you know, you like that football? Yeah. You like those guns? Like, yeah, I love guns. Well, you're a boy, so you need to get a sex change. I might have been like, really? I might have. Like, you really gonna do that to me?
Right.
And you know, I had this conversation with. That's why you better not be touching the kids.
Right.
Leave them the fuck alone.
There you go. Now we're talking.
And you know, so I get really upset about the kids because I was that kid. I was confused. You know, I thought, you know, am I gay? You know, because they're like, you know, you must be gay. I got hit on all the time. They're like, you know, I'm like, oh, I'm not gay. Like, well, I don't think I'm gay. Like, everyone thought I was gay. I'm not. It turns out. But I was confused for a while. I really didn't know because it was just everything's pushed on you so much.
Right.
And so I totally relate. They're pushing it on these girls, getting them to chop off their tits at, you know, a young age. You know, and I was talking to this girl, just a young girl, and her devouring grandmother was hovering over her and trying to protect her from me. And I'm just trying to have a conversation with her. And she wanted to have the conversation with me, you know, and I told her, I said, you want to know what the greatest day of my life was? The greatest day of my life. I felt like a stranger in so many places. I've struggled, and I've had a lot of good times too. But the greatest, most beautiful day of my life was being in awe of seeing my son
Right.
in my arms for the first time. That was the most beautiful moment of my life.
That's a mother's most powerful moment.
It was insane. I couldn't believe he was real. Like, this really happened.
Right.
You know, this is crazy. This is real. That I can imagine something so great happening to me. They told me, my doctor's like, you can't have children. I was like, oh shit, that's okay. But then I did. And there he was. It was beautiful. And that was the greatest moment of my life. And you're taking that from all these kids who you're doing it to feel good about you. Your crazy brain. Your bullshit. You're pushing your bullshit on them.
But think about when your son was growing up. Just not even having like an actual like train of thought of something like solidified. Like so basically, like, kids are always confused.
Yeah.
You can fuck with a kid really easily.
Sure.
This is how predators get kids. So it's like, to me, when like parents are pushing this because like, oh, deep down inside, I should have had a girl, but I had a boy, but now I can change that.
It's self-love.
And then it sets them on a path that is so destructive. And like the really sad part too is like all of the transgenders that are going back, they're shutting down their opinions because it's against this wave of bullshit.
That's right.
And you should always hear both sides of the story.
Exactly. And look how many people's lives are damaged and their lives are shortened, and their physical health is hell. You know, like, they don't their opinions matter? But you know, it's like I told that girl the same thing. I said, darling, don't listen to me. Don't listen to anybody else. You need to figure it out what it is you truly want in this life, and figure it out. You know who you are. I said, and I told her the same thing. The worst lie you can tell is the lie you tell to yourself. You are a girl. What is so terrible about that?
Nothing.
I can be a girl. I'm a woman.
Your gender fought years and years and years
No
for
shit.
rights.
No shit.
Why is it not okay to be a girl now?
Well, but I'm a girl, and I can do all this stuff that guys like.
And probably just,
I can do whatever I want.
or you can
Now.
do things better than most guys.
Sure, some things.
Right.
But not all.
Right.
Oh, how unfair. Welcome to planet Earth. You know, I'm not going to have the upper body strength that you do. Oh, well. But I can do other cool shit.
I don't know. I think at 39, we're probably the same. I've let my shit go.
Triple 13s. But no, I mean, men are magnificent. Men are the most magnificent and beautiful creatures. I marvel at the way that God made men. They're just magnificent. And I love them for it. The way they were designed, the way that God intended it. The role of the father, the role of the husband, the role of the brother.
Here's the toxic term.
Right.
The alpha male.
Sure, yeah.
Protector.
Sure. You know, they're just magnificent. I don't know I wouldn't be able to do nearly as many as the awesome things and help as many people as I've been able to help
Without men.
without my husband.
Right.
I can do anything with him at my side.
But see, on the flip side, he would not be able to feel the things he feels without you.
Well, yeah, and I support him with his crazy endeavors. You know, I don't know why you men love cars so much. I scratch my head. You know, he loves tinkering and he loves things, and I love that he loves that. But you know, I was just talking to my friend Darren about this. You know, the things that men, you know, the husband worries about, or the father, and compared to the mother and the wife. And it's like, the man is the head of the household. He's the strongest. He's the most formidable. I make sure he sleeps closest to the door, you know. I'm on the other side.
You're more to the bathroom. He's more to the door.
Right, you know, for all I know, I might sleep through the whole thing. I'm a good sleeper, but he's between me and them. But he's stronger. He's a badass. If he's going to be my man, you know he is. You know, he's formidable.
You are Sarah Connor.
Yeah, he's a formidable man, and he needs to be, because I've been tossed like distances I couldn't believe. I couldn't believe how a dude could take one arm and just lift me off my feet and slam me against the wall. I was like, you know, I can't do that. Watch me try to do that. Bullshit. Those shows where you see these, 90-pound girls just beating the shit out of karate chopping like 30, 250-pound dudes like that. No, that's bullshit. That's why I like guns, But, what does my husband worry about? My husband can go out with his buddies and play pool or what have you. He likes to go dancing. I'm not really about that. But I don't have to worry about him. He's fine. I don't worry about him when he goes out.
But he worries about you, though, right?
Right.
Like, he's probably worried about this.
But no.
No? Okay.
But I mean, if I were to go out.
I would hope he would be a little worried.
Right. But see, right.
Because mama's going away from the nest.
Okay, so I'm going downtown. I'm a damn good looking female. And he knows I'm formidable. But it doesn't matter. He's my husband. He still worries about me and wants to make sure I'm safe. Wants to make sure, even though he knows I'm armed to the teeth, he still is concerned.
Right.
He's worried. Whereas, the wife, the mother, like, we're more worried. The husband, father is worried about something happening, his wife and children being raped and pillaged. That's the biggest fear for him. My biggest fear is for me to be raped and pillaged and my children to be raped and pillaged. I'm not worried about him. He's fine. He's fine.
But
He's
it's
badass.
also his job to comfort you through those emotions and feelings.
Right. But do you see the different concerns?
100%.
He's fine. I know he is. I married him for a reason, because He's a badass.
He's a man.
He's a man. I can take care of me. He can beat up guys for me.
He can build shit.
He can build shit. He figures out things. He's my muse. He's very
got
patient.
Leather-bound book smell
Right.
of mahogany.
Right. But that's how he was designed. And he wants to help. He always wants to help and save. Men love to be the hero. He loves being the hero.
And you like being saved.
And I like being saved. I love it when he's like, you want me,
But see,
can I
that's
help you with that? Want me
but see
to get
that's
your oil?
you found someone where you can be in your feminine
Yes.
and he can be in his masculine
God, yes.
all the damn time.
Do you know how much I appreciate that?
Well, but here's the thing though. You can be so humans at their core is male and female.
Right, right.
You have to be in your energy to feel comfortable and confident in everything you do.
Well, if I'm in my feminine, I'm vulnerable.
You are, but if he's with you,
Right. Then I can,
right.
but see, and it's funny because, all the guys we train with, they're like, what is it like being married to her? God. He's like, she's such a baby at home. Like, you don't even know.
But he gets you though. That's
Right.
But-
He's like, you should see her when she's 6. She's such a baby. It's true. But when I'm out in public, see, I know how vulnerable I am.
mm-hmm.
I've had the shit kicked out of me.
You have to equalize that.
I've almost been murdered, died a couple of times. It's fine. But so I'm very aware of I'm grossly aware of my limitations. Okay, I can't karate chop and, but I got blades and guns and stuff. I got my tools, but is that 100% foolproof? No. So
No.
do I let people get near me? I have to adopt my masculine traits to make sure that I get home. So I can be feminine.
But that was but
With my husband.
But here's the problem though. Everything you just described when you're vulnerable or when you have to then go into your masculine
Oh, yeah.
is the problem with society today.
Well, that's how it's always been, though.
Even back to when we were cavemen, we weren't always worried about our women and children being raped and killed.
Sure, we were. We've been.
In our communities?
Sure.
No.
Sure.
No.
Sure. Look, have you watched human history? Human history is horrible.
Well, it is because we've allowed basically the genders on how they feel cross the lines. So, like, you look at men today, they're the biggest fucking pussies you'll ever meet. I know. I used to be one. I had to change it.
I've met a lot of men who are very masculine and
How emotional are they, though?
emotional.
Yes.
I don't.
What do you get from them when you're around them? Like, what's their energy like?
It was great. And we have a lot of deep, wonderful conversations about life
Okay.
and philosophy and history. Oh, if they like all those topics to talk with me, and we can talk for hours. We talk all the time.
Okay, but now look at today's generation, like the kids just coming out of high school. We've talked about this. It's the softest generation.
Not necessarily. No. Okay. Like my niece. She's 20. I know how old she is. She's 23. Okay. Her and all her friends. Not too long from high school. Not too far removed. In college, right? They're a magnificent group of kids. But they're mostly Latino. Like, a lot of them come from Mexico. And they're like one of the best groups of kids I've met. There's like a group of 20 of them that hang out. And Nate's a barber. He's got a barber shop. Does my son's hair. Does a great job.
But how different is society in Mexico than it is here?
And that's what I'm wondering.
Traditional.
Yeah.
It's very, very traditional.
Yeah.
Where we're now blurring lines of
Right.
tradition and now this shit that we do it day in and day out.
I'm just saying, all my niece's friends are like some of the funnest, coolest young people, and they are open-minded. They do want to learn. They're hungry for knowledge.
But I also have people in my life who have kids, and their kids are some of the biggest pussies I've ever met in my entire life. And it's because there's a lot of enabling or a lot of confusion that we just talked about.
Well, you ask a kid in, El Salvador, are you depressed? Do you,
They don't even know what that
Do you have
is.
anxiety? They're like, what?
Right.
I'm like, I don't know. I've just been busy all day, just trying to bring water up and like find something to eat.
Well, right, but that's a different society.
They don't have time
Yeah.
to be depressed
Right.
because they're hungry.
Right.
So the mission is find food.
I'm saying here in the United States. Though.
Right. Hear what I'm saying though.
Find
It's
food.
luxury.
Yeah.
Okay. Like we were so pampered and just bored. You know, what's miserable in all this wealth. It's terrible. These grapes are sour. You know, that's the condition.
Right. I know.
That it's not enough to do.
But it raises, what I'm getting at is it raises a generation after generation after generation of gender males that are more emotional than females.
I don't know. I've met so many great young people that are just badasses. You know, I've met a ton. I don't know. Maybe I'm just lucky.
I hire a bunch of young people, so I see
I
a lot of what I'm talking about.
I meet a lot of great young people that are badasses, and I can't wait to watch them grow. My son is a badass.
I'm not. No. I'm not.
You know,
definitely not saying anything about yours.
I'm just saying. I think the kids nowadays are great.
Really?
Yeah, they're awesome.
Lee?
They're killing it in sports. They're killing it in, you know, they're training. They do martial arts and
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. I get them as students in classes, and they're amazing students. You know, they don't struggle like us older people do. It's harder for us to learn new things. But yeah, you just tell them like, okay, I want you to do this, and they're like, and they do it. They're magnificent.
Lee, do you agree with this? What's your take on today's society?
Definitely soft.
Oh sure, but I'm soft too.
But you're
compared.
no, but don't take this the wrong way. You are a female who is more comfortable in their feminine. So you're going to have a softer touch on everything you do.
I don't know. I'm pretty comfortable in my masculine too.
They get offended by words too much.
Yeah.
Too easily.
It's okay. We'll agree to disagree.
I don't know.
It's okay.
Maybe.
This is what makes this a good conversation because you have a whole other world that I don't see.
Yeah, I meet a lot of great kids. I think they're great.
I meet a lot of lazy, entitled, emotional kids.
Sure, but I think you're going to find it's going to be different household to household.
Agreed.
It's all a matter of the principles and morals and, you know,
I'm
like,
just saying that it's
about the parents.
I'm just saying it's moving. Society's moving to a softer deal.
Right, but look at the destruction to the family that's occurred.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's in broken families nowadays.
Yeah.
Our culture and relationships, you know, romantically is, you know, Janet Jackson's "What Have You Done For Me Lately." It's never, you know, what can I do for you to make you have a better
See,
day.
I prefer the Ike and Tina Turner relationship.
The what?
Ike and Tina Turner relationship.
What's that?
You don't know Ike Turner? He used to beat the shit out of Tina Turner. I'm totally joking.
I have no idea.
I'm totally joking on that.
That's horrible.
It is horrible. But it's a joke. For all you battered women, I apologize.
I know. I made a battered woman joke in front of my mom. She's like, "That's terrible. You know, there's women that have really been battered." I'm like, "Mom, I'm one of them." I was talking to that person that you're not dating yesterday.
Our friend.
And she said something so damn funny. She's like, because we were I'm like, "You gotta laugh." She's like, "Yeah, if you don't laugh, you're gonna cry." It's like, you need to make one of your mugs, your stylish mugs with that.
I told her I'd need to toughen her up.
Yes, I love her.
She's had a number done on her mentally.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah. She's told me some shit. I'm like, God damn.
No shit. She's a good mama.
She's a good person.
And
She's
her
always
kids-
been a good person.
And her kids, she's all about her kids. Well, you look at her kids, you know, and they're getting after it. They're doing shit, and she's just right there, like, cute.
And then she's
You
got
know?
this dead carcass she's dragging.
She's killing it. She's a great mother.
All right. Well, Lee, do you have anything you want to add? We kind of said it all.
Yeah, I mean,
There's no saying it all.
maybe just about the guns, like going back to the gun stuff.
Gun stuff. Yeah.
Like, I think holsters are super important.
Yes.
when it comes to guns and guns like misfiring and all that type of stuff is like, what kind of holster do you have? Do you have like a cheap holster? Or,
No.
you know,
Hell no.
that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, of course it does. Yes, that's true.
I have a lethal weapon holster that I use just the crack of my ass for my gun. Put it in the back.
And I'm not a fan of the appendix trend going on. I'm just not. And I saw a great video of a guy. You watch him put his his Glock in his holster, and then you watch him bend over, which was probably a bad holster, like you're saying.
And it go off.
Nylon or soft leather or something, and he bent over and put a round right in his testicle.
Oh.
It was ugly. So but see, I follow the rules, right? So if it violates the 5 rules, then I don't do it. So is my muzzle crossing something that I do not wish to kill or destroy? Well, my vagina, I rather care about that, so I'm not ever gonna carry there.
A lot of plumbing goes on down
I'm
there.
not carrying there. I like my baby maker the way it is.
What's your take on the bra holsters?
Same thing, it's like
I mean, 1 out of 2 tits isn't bad.
look, I know a lot of people like it if that works for you, but again, I'm very literal. See, if it's crossing, okay, I'm uncomfortable with my muzzle. I want it in the ground, the dirt. I don't like it up either.
So what's your go-to holster?
I like the it's Mitch. I think it's Mitch Rosen. Their leather holsters are phenomenal. They don't lose their shape. They don't bend and get soft. Most leather holsters are soft and atrocious. But theirs is a very high quality holster, and it's never lost its shape in years. You just gotta, with the mag pouch, you just gotta make sure you put some Vaseline in there and kind of recoat it. But Kydex, the downside with Kydex, they're great. They don't lose their shape as long as and as long as it's for that gun, and it fully covers the trigger guard and all that. They're great, except for when their screws fall out. So if you're gonna have a Kydex holster, make sure you remove each screw and make sure that you yourself put blue Loctite on there.
Is there a difference between red and blue?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you'll never remove that shit again without a hairdryer and probably damaging the shit out of the screw. Red and green, that's tough shit. That's hard. That's hard strength. But the blue, it won't walk out. It'll stay right where it's supposed to be.
Okay.
And you can remove it if you want. So if you want to adjust it tighter or looser, you can do that.
So it gives you options.
Yes.
Okay.
Whereas otherwise you're going to be sitting there with a heat gun and hating yourself.
It's probably quicker to buy another one than it is to fuck with that.
But I mean, there's pros and cons. There's pros and cons to no matter what you pick.
What do you think about carbon fiber holsters?
Carbon fiber is great, as long as it's got it's like the connection to the belt, the connection to your pants. That's very important.
Yeah.
And I've seen students, with just a cheap clip-on with a cheap belt. They pull their gun and the holster comes with it. I've seen that. So I like a sure thing, and there's so many products out now. You wouldn't believe the size of the SHOT Show. It's unbelievable. It was like being in Willy Wonka's.
What do you feel about
factory, but
people carrying without one in the chamber?
why the fuck would you do that?
I know a lot of people that do. I don't.
Well, I could see if you're carrying a SIG P320, not carrying one in the chamber. But that's the only gun I'd be
Feel
worried
like
about.
They will always have time to cock back,
Yeah,
slide.
Well, it seems how you're not the criminal, hopefully. It seems how you're not the criminal.
Well,
See, you're going to be reacting.
Hold my beer.
You're going to be a quarter of a second behind, and that puts you at a disadvantage. Sorry. Who said, it was going to be a bright sunny day, you were going to be in your favorite range jacket with your favorite range pants, with your favorite everything, all the things you like to look tactical on the range in. You might be in a stupid dress, drawing out of a purse that you never practiced.
I mean, I don't think me and Lee would be in a dress. That'd be kind of weird.
well, but I wear
From
dresses.
a female standpoint, yeah.
Well, I married a beautiful man who likes it when I wear pretty dresses, so I wear a dress
There you
every
go.
now and then, and but I have options with him as well. I can put my holster on him in his suit and carry my gun. I could drop my gun off him if I want.
And someone could be right up on you too, where they have your one
Yeah.
arm, so you only have one arm free.
Sure.
So how are you?
Why
gonna
would you carry without
that
one in the
back?
chamber?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? But I've had guys that were carrying appendix. Okay, so carrying one in the chamber kind of freaked them out, and I just said, brother, when are you gonna stop holding your boys hostage?
Well, Lee's got one that is like, it's not a full-on fanny pack. It's built just for a handgun, right? Mm-hmm. Lee,
Or
just kind of going back to that story we talked about last week when you were walking your dog, like that
the fanny pack.
holster.
I've heard a lot of people
yeah.
going to the fanny pack. That's fine.
it's not a fanny pack. It's like a.
sorry, I meant- yeah.
sling-
Not a fanny pack, but a satchel, a man satchel.
satchel, yeah.
Okay, all right. a tactical.
I didn't mean that like a fanny pack. I meant like the one that goes around your shoulders and it's
Right.
easily accessible.
It's a cool fanny pack. It's not the one our mamas wore at Lagoon.
Fuck, I'd rock one of those all day.
It's not the ones our mamas wore at Disneyland.
You know how much shit you can keep in a fanny pack?
Yeah, they're cool.
I mean, pens, erasers.
I am shopping for the man satchel right now.
I could go back to elementary and do it out of a fucking fanny pack.
I'm trying to remember the one the guy had, and I just did the series by A. American, the Going Home series. You read that series? Oh, it's awesome. Ew. I actually got inspired by a cast iron tortilla press from that series. I was like, I gotta have one of those.
You do cafeteria at your home.
Well, I mean, it's about the EMP hitting and him having to walk home, get to his family, and them learning how to live without power. Tell me, Sean, can you make bullets without power?
Yes.
Isn't that cool? So I like knowing how to do shit without power too. And I have a cast iron
Chamfering and burrowing
tortilla press.
would be a really bad deal if you didn't have power, though.
Yeah.
That's a lot of finger work.
True. But
You could do it.
You
Yes,
could do it.
You can do it. 100%.
but that's a great series. And he's like some kind of man satchel thing. I just can't remember the brand name. I wanted to remember it because I was shopping for him.
Lee, what was the name of that brand you showed me last week?
Vertex.
Vertex.
Vertex. Yeah, those are cool. But have you trained with it?
Yeah.
You've trained with it. Mm-hmm. Do you know how many people haven't done that? So yeah, that's awesome. Wonderful. Most people don't. So you've already figured out the pros and cons to that system.
Right.
And you've figured it out. Okay, but this works for me. These are the risks. These are the good things. The greatest thing of all is that it's on you.
Right.
It's not like, well, I don't want to wear this. It's really hot today. It's better than leaving your gun at home.
Right. Yep. I try to never do that because that'll be the one day that's something
Yeah,
that you'll need it.
that's right.
We just talked about that, too.
It's in the safe. But I could tell you a lot of horror stories about people who weren't lucky enough to just die or be killed. There are some things worse than death.
Shooting your penis off.
Well, I mean, I heard a story of a man who was forced to watch his wife be raped in front of him.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some bad shit.
That's some bad shit. Do you think that marriage survived?
No.
Fuck no.
No.
And I absolutely feel for the woman. That's horrible. But I do feel for the guy too. I mean, could you imagine the horror of just watching that happen?
It would take so much therapy.
Right.
And two very, very open-minded
The
people.
horror. Yeah, because he was all tied up and shit. And it's like,
Well, you've just stripped away every ounce of masculinity.
yeah, that was his job.
Yeah.
That's what he is. I mean, men will run to defend you without even thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
They'll just run into it. That's how they're made. They're magnificent. Whereas I'm like, no. Just kidding.
Damsel in distress.
No, I'm just like, I guess I like him today. I guess I'll help him. But I mean, men, I've watched it so many times. Men they just run in there without even thinking about it. They just do shit they never imagined. It's fantastic. I love good men.
Yeah, we call them cops and firefighters.
No,
And military.
not just men. No, not just.
No, but I get what you're saying.
Good men. Good men who run into a fight. They stand for something. They are what they are. You know, I love that my friend Dax, he reminded me of this. And that was a scene from the movie Troy, the conversation that Achilles has with Hector. And Hector's trying to make this, like, okay, like, we agree, we'll be able to, the other person will be able to take the body and give the proper burial rights and shit. And Achilles is like, no, man. Lions cannot make pacts with men.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I love what Dax said. He's like, you know, a lion knows what the fuck he is and where the fuck he belongs.
Yep.
He knows what he is.
The lion also doesn't concern himself with the opinions of sheep.
Right.
That's literally how I live my life.
And, you know what you are.
Mm-hmm.
Stand for something. And don't be afraid. People's feelings are going to get hurt. People are going to disagree with you.
Well, it's just every action has a reaction, no matter what you do.
But I would rather people hate me for my principles where I will not budge. I know my lines in the sand. I will not budge on what's right, on what the truth is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not going to convince me of that's your problem. You can believe that if you want to.
Do you feel, though,
that doesn't make it good and it doesn't make it true.
Do you feel, though, that
Makes you feel nice.
the ultimate true, though, could be you believe your true is true and they believe their true is true?
No.
So how do you determine true?
Facts.
Okay.
Facts. Right? Give me the facts, please. Tell me what it is that we know.
But in today's society, and I'll use the news for an example.
Well, look how many things they lie to us about.
Well, everything, but they also can take a fact and construe it.
That's what I mean.
Right.
You know, like, okay, you need all this money from us to stop the Earth from ending every 5 years. Okay, well, what has the biggest impact on our planet?
You know I'm friends with Greta, right?
What has the biggest effect on all the weather, everything, all the shit with our planet? The sun.
Okay.
What are you going to do about that?
Nothing. You
Not
can't.
a damn thing.
You can't. I'm with you. I don't feel the global warming thing is a thing.
No, it's a thing to get money.
It's a money grift.
Money, power.
It started off with, what's his dude's name?
I don't even care. No,
It's climate change now. It was
Al Gore.
Yeah, global warming back then.
Right, but that's just one example. I don't want to dive down that stupid rabbit hole.
No, we're in agreement there.
But I mean, like, as far as I can tell, you know, every single institution is compromised.
Yeah.
Every single one. The universities, of course, the government, they suck at everything. But our religious institutions.
Same thing.
Everything is compromised, and we're just.
And those are the facts.
It's horrible, and it's like I tune into all the interviews with all these political candidates, you know, and I just asked him, like, can you just speak? Like, do you have the balls to stand up and speak against the corruption in all of our major institutions? Do you just speak? And they're like, no, I don't want to pass any legislation like banning them from the DEI and all this. I'm like, that's not what I'm talking about. I want you to speak. I want you to have the balls to speak out about the corruption, even in the church, your church.
Mm-hmm.
You should be speaking out on the things you don't like there, but you don't. Why? Don't you care
Right.
about
They don't.
your religion?
But they don't.
Like, you should speak.
They don't.
Just speak.
Right, but they don't, and they never will. That's the problem. This is a discussion I have with my dad all the time.
Drives me crazy.
Is it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you fall on. The degree of separation is about 3 degrees, for one. And for 2, you get wrapped up in what I call political theater. It's 3-card Monty every fucking day on the news.
No. Okay, Phil Lehman is a good one.
Hold on.
He's a good one.
Think about like this. Take someone like my dad, who is a very, very, very smart individual,
Sure.
and gets distracted by all this Biden shit. But the real problem is over here. It's 3-card Monte. They're just moving the cards around and freaking out over stupid
Okay.
shit.
I'm focused locally.
Okay,
What the hell am I going to do federally? Like, really?
nothing.
Not shit.
Nothing.
Okay. But I have a little effect locally.
You have a bigger effect than most people just because you're a delegate.
That's right.
Right.
So I have a chance to talk to these, and I can talk to all the other delegates too. Okay, we're homies. We hang out. We sit together.
How many delegates are in Utah?
Like 4,000.
Oh, wow. How many actually get to represent Utah in the national?
Okay, well, this year apparently everybody's pissed off because this year was a crazy turnout. Like the last time I was a delegate, I was actually a county and a state delegate because I was the only one that showed up.
Really?
Yeah, I won by default, so I did both.
So this year there was a bigger delegate turnout?
Oh, a lot of people showed up, and of course, they don't pay attention
To anything.
what's going on. Well, my first question was, "What do you think of our current governor?" And they're like, "I think he's okay." I was like, "Nope, no, no." And because he's terrible. But what's going on we have to participate.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on here in the state of Utah is crazy, and we are the pilot program for the rest of the nation.
So what's going on that? Like, go into detail.
We are deep into bed with the CCP. So many of our legislators are in bed with the CCP. And the UN. Okay, this is the only other place that the UN meets in the United States besides New York.
Is the state of Utah.
Yeah.
That's scary.
That doesn't bother you.
That's pretty scary.
When the LDS church leaders are walking the UN around and throwing, involved in this UN event, I'm like, this doesn't bother anybody. This doesn't make it. They loved their food program, working for food.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that they liked that. That made me very itchy. Okay, yeah, all the WEF shit. And if you look at the stuff, they were pushing digital ID.
Yeah.
Governor Cox is the
Digital currency.
top dog in the Governors Association, and he's not showing up to fundraisers. He's not showing up to meetings.
So where is he?
He's just dancing around with all. He's got bigger fish to fry, but he is absolutely a globalist, and he's absolutely pushing all this agenda to take full control of the water and the land, all this stuff. Okay, and the minerals, they want the land because it has all these minerals on it.
Mm-hmm.
And Phil Lehman, who's running against Governor Cox, has been he's got the voting record to prove it. He can read and understand all these bills, and he's been fighting this stuff. And he is a man that actually went to prison for standing up against I'm going to make sure I say the whole thing, the Bureau of Land Management.
BLM.
Yeah. The other BLM, not the... Yeah.
Yeah.
But he actually, and he was on the up and up with all of that. He had the permits. He did everything right. And I've met the man. He's very, very nice. See, I'm more like feral when I talk about this shit.
Yeah, I
and
can tell.
Yeah, and he's so calm, cool. I've listened to several of his interviews he's done. He's so controlled. But he's on top of it. He is not afraid to talk about all this WEF stuff and UN and all these actors involved and the bills they're pushing. And he was the only one to vote nay on the latest water bill, which goes into effect in
So is he
2024.
currently elected official
Yes.
that's running for governor?
Yes.
Do you think he's got the power to push the guy out? Like 100%?
Do you know how many polls I've been getting? My phone's been blowing up with polls. And I finally figured out that they're coming from the two major turds. And that's Governor Cox and the Speaker of the House, Brad Wilson. Okay, he's horrible too. Okay, horrible.
But do you think by Lehman getting elected as governor will set the tone to push the rest of these assholes out?
He's got a 2-point lead. Okay. Well, think about it. I mean,
He's got veto power for sure, but does he have enough?
I think so.
Like enough energy to not only win, but to actually start to push the current scourge out.
Yeah, and we got I like Trent Staggs. Okay, he's on top of that immigration, the border, the crisis we're having with the immigration, which is horrible and not nearly talked about near enough. Okay, we're in so much trouble.
Mm-hmm.
God, that's a whole other 3 hours. But and you remember all that. So I was at the SHOT Show when the whole Eagles Pass dog and pony show was going on. Okay, so when I was driving up from Vegas when that was all happening, and Governor Abbott pretended all of a sudden Governor Abbott really cares about the border. Oh, we care, and we're going to have troops, and we're standing up against the federal government, and that was all crap.
It was because that was what was popular at the time.
That was all. Well, he wants to get
Yeah.
Yeah, and Governor Cox, yes, we must support Texas and standing up against the feds. That's all crap.
But that's my point, though.
It was all a dog and pony show. No, Phil Lehman's the real deal.
Okay, besides Lehman,
Lehman's the real deal.
whether it's
Staggs is good
federally or locally,
the rest of them suck.
they're all in it to make money.
Well,
Money, power, it's all part of this huge complex that needs to go away.
well, look how much they're trying to bypass the caucus. Okay, because we're all pretty awake in the caucus. We pay attention to what's going on, and we don't like most of them, and they know it. So they work very hard to bypass the caucus.
Right, to push things that...
Right, and it sucks because it's like you have to play that game now if you want a shot. Because that's how you win elections with big money is with the getting votes by signatures.
Right.
Okay, rather than the caucus. And so, I was standing in line with Derek Brown at a fundraiser in my nice dress, and I was like, oh, you're Derek Brown. He's running for AG. That's Cox's pick for AG, by the way, because he wanted to pass a bill to make it so he could choose who the AG was. By the way,
Which got turned down.
yeah,
Good.
thank God,
Good.
dictator. But I was standing in line with him.
He is a dictator.
And I was standing in line with Derek Brown, and I was like, oh, you're Derek Brown. And he's like, I was like, I had somebody come by my house today to sign for you to get on the ballot. And he's like, oh, did you sign? I said, no. I don't know you. No. I don't know what you're about. Why would I sign for you? And I don't know shit about you. But how many people, and I noticed that, like, I got one phone call from a candidate and what he told me was, he graduated from BYU. He had a good job as a lawyer. He was a veteran, and he served a mission.
He should be disqualified.
That's what he thinks I want to hear.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
What's your policies?
Okay, I've met assholes that served missions, and I've met really great people that have served missions. So, I've met wonderful people who have served in our military. And I've met shitty people that served in our military. Like, that doesn't tell me. You haven't told me anything that you're about.
Right.
What are you for? Where are you on the immigration crisis? Clearly the guy didn't have it. Same with Derek Brown. I told him, I was like, they're handing, the Red Cross is handing out rape kits to all these poor women crossing the Darien Gap. Did you know that? He was like, oh, really? I'm like, the fact that you don't know that bothers me.
Yeah.
The fact that you don't know who Michael Yon is, who is like the number one person to source your news about the immigration crisis from. The fact that you don't know who this man is, because I know a lot of representatives who go down there and meet with him because he's the most knowledgeable person on this. This is what he does.
Mm-hmm.
He's a war correspondent. He's
An actual journalist.
an actual person. Like I know, several of our representatives have gone down there with him. How is it that you don't know who this man is? And where do you get your news? Like, who do you?
Fox 13.
And he told me, he was like, the Wall Street Journal. I was like, we're done here. We're done. The fact, you think I just want to hear that you served a mission and you went to BYU.
I know, but someone's going to be dumb enough to vote for this dude because of those things.
I know that. They have an R next to their name.
And so this is what I always tell my dad, too.
I don't give a shit.
Is the average person who is not involved or doesn't do anything with politics is the lowest form of IQ people you could deal with.
Dude.
They want all the feel good. That's what I'm saying. That's the 3-card Monty.
Look, I think they have good intentions. A lot of I've talked to other guys. I think they're really nice people. They've just been, they've been grinding, running their business. They're working hard, and actually do want to do good. The problem is, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and so when you get people in there, like, I'm gonna do some good in the world, and they don't know. They don't realize the den of vipers that they just walked into. Like, okay, could you sign on for this bill for me? This is what it's about. But they don't understand what's really going on in the world. They don't understand what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand the level of shit that we are in. They don't get it.
How do you fix it? You know the answer.
Look, I mean, I try to do my best with like a less than 1% hope. But as I said, I love history, and as far as I can tell, we are a late-stage rum.
So it's funny you say that, because I actually told my dad, if you go back into history with the Romans
And the Greeks.
the Persians, all of them, when men started thinking they were women and women started thinking they were men, and they were playing around with kids, is when you saw the downfall of society.
Well, I mean, it's absolute moral decay, greed, it was immigration, and they were outbred, and an absolute overextension of their military. Does that sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
Weird, but yeah, absolute moral decay. But there's life cycles to anything. Like, I mean,
we were never going to be the superpower forever.
but look at anything, like any business, right? You'll have a business and they get real big and they're awesome, and then they fall to decay. They fall to moral decay. They fall to and then their product sucks, right? I mean, even like churches, a ministry, a church will start out really good. It's a really good thing, helping a lot of people, bringing a lot of people to Christ and helping people heal. And then they get bigger and bigger and popular, and that, all that power, all that success, what does that do to people? Corrupts.
Yeah, destroys you.
Right. And so they get big, and then they get corrupt, and then
They fall.
It's entropy. It's the life cycle of a business or whatever. Like, I feel like I see that's creeping into Glock.
Okay.
Too much power. Too much
market share.
They've had it for so long, and when I bring up issues, and I'm like, blah, 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 about this, that, the other, and they're like, I know, I agree. I'm like, can't you tell higher up? And they're like, they don't care. It's like, all right.
Because it's power and profit over quality.
Entropy's creep, right? But I'm a minority in this world. Like most people. Okay, as far as guns go, the concerns I have. They're not going to get phone calls about the shit I'm saying.
Right.
Right? They want to, look, it's a business.
Mm-hmm.
They want to make money. So nobody else is complaining. It's like, I'm a percentage of a percentage of a percentage of people that go out and do serious training. And, so what?
Right.
So what do you care?
Right.
All right? Right now, our clients that pay big money, they're happy.
Yeah.
So, go away.
But you're also in the service industry. I get what you're saying, though.
But they don't care. So, I mean, whatever. And anything has a life cycle, but same as a country, as you say. And we've had it good for a long time. And sometimes I feel like, we just deserve what we get. And coming back to the Bible, there's a lot of, look how, we look at some of those human beings, they're like, why were they so stupid after all they saw?
Yeah.
And they were still stupid. No, that's the condition. You think you're better than Peter? You think you're better than any of those guys?
Right.
No, we're all that stupid.
Yeah.
We're human beings. We have this corrupt flesh problem. The corruption of the heart. The heart is deceitful, and rather than like focusing on the facts. Like it's kind of like this. I know this guy's not good for me. You know, he hit me, but he said he'd never hit me again. But he hit me.
Yeah.
Ignoring those facts and listening to your heart, and your feelings, and then you get beat up again.
Right.
Like,
And, until you stop it.
but there's a lot of that's all the Bible is, like men screwing up, being stupid, and oh, all right, yeah, that was stupid. Let's not do that again. Well, it's our time for is coming.
I think we're watching it. I really do think we're watching the end.
I think we deserve what we get because look how many people have fallen to apathy.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to not care.
Right.
It's easier to just do you. And I don't blame people who do. I really don't. Life right now, I've never seen so many people struggling just to keep it together.
It's going to get worse.
Yes.
Wait till they take preferred currency away.
Well, you better know what your hills are. You better know what it is that you are. And you better not bend. Because if you do, well, there's plenty of history for you to read of what happens when you do.
Yeah.
So, all right. Oh no, I love what my mentor, taught me. He's like, lose your fear of death. Lose your fear of pain.
That's what I, in a much colorful way, told our friend. As she's always worried this, worried that.
Yeah.
And I tell her, I'm like, no. Just one time. Let your hand off the wheel and close your eyes. Let's see what happens.
You don't get a risk-free life.
But you can start to change the mindset.
Right. Well,
what's going to happen is going to happen. Let your hands off the wheel.
Yeah.
Close your eyes. Enjoy the ride.
What's going to happen? You don't do that thing that you're scared to do.
Right.
And then look at the risk in that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do it. What's the risk? That you fail? Maybe, but maybe you won't. Or maybe you'll.
Maybe you actually get the desired outcome.
Yeah. You don't get a risk-free life. And there are always consequences, good or bad. No matter speaking, you will have consequences. Mm-hmm. You will pay the consequences.
Every action has a reaction.
And not speaking.
Yeah.
As Bonhoeffer said,
yeah.
Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're all going to die.
Right.
So.
Have fun.
At least.
Say what you want.
At least be who you are.
Right.
Boldly, fearlessly.
Let your freak flag fly.
Yeah.
That's it.
Sure. And if, I'm the first in the roundup, then that's what happens. What, I die and I get to go home? No.
Poor me.
Poor me. But at least I get to die being what I am.
Right.
Not what I'm not.
But you also get to die with honor.
Right. I get to be me.
Yeah.
And yeah. Great. So
it's that simple, but yeah, I get it.
Oh, it's never simple. Nothing's simple, but yeah. I mean,
it's just a difference of a mindset.
Yeah. Be willing to lose everything.
Don't do things because you're afraid. Do things because you're bold.
Yeah. Don't lose your fear. Fear is of the adversary.
That's right. Lee, you got anything else you want to add?
Holsters. That's where.
I think I'm good.
All right.
Well, thank you for coming on.
I love you, Sean, and I'm so glad to see you.
I love you too.
I'm so glad to see you doing this. This is awesome.
Thank you. We get a lot of good compliments.
Good.
And we're going to continue.
Podcasting's fun, man.
It is fun.
I love podcasts. I love Joe Rogan.
That's my boy. Him and Theo.
Dude, he's dope.
Theo's funny as fuck.
Yeah, he's great. I love Joey Diaz too. Joey Diaz.
He was just on Rogan, and I got to listen to that one.
That guy just kills me. He's so crude. I even got my dad to listen to him. Have you ever seen his Memorial Day? Just search. My husband knows when I've been listening to Joey Diaz. He's like, "You've been listening to Joey." I'm like, "I'm sorry." Stand up. Look at the fucking flag.
Well, I do want to have you back. I have homework for you.
Oh, I love homework.
We're going to go hard in the paint. We went hard in the paint tonight.
paint?
Like, it's a basketball term. Like, you go hard in the paint in a dunk.
Oh.
We went pretty hard in the paint tonight.
No, girls don't dunk. I played basketball too, but we didn't dunk.
Hold on, though.
Sorry.
I want you to think of some very, very, very controversial topics that we didn't go down.
That's everything now.
Oh, I know, but like the stuff that we refrain from talking about. Let's go.
Okay. I don't know. I'd have to brainstorm that. I don't.
That's what I'm saying. You have homework.
I'll ask my husband what those are, maybe.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure what's not anymore.
We don't have a filter here, so whatever goes.
Not sure what's not offensive now.
Everything is.
Yeah, so.
This yellow couch is offensive to some, right, Lee?
Oh, come on.
Nope.
No, that's
It's
true,
a great
Lee.
couch.
Lee, that's true.
I mean, I wouldn't want to sleep on it. It doesn't look.
Okay. All right. Thank you.